a.m. to 12 p.m. on 101.7 FM, 1510 a.m. WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat.
We believe that we're here to assist those students. They may not understand the maze of higher education, but we are here to help them wind their way through that maze and find their way to the finish line.
That's Dr. Margaret McMenamin, president of Union College of New Jersey, a school that prides itself on helping students from underserved and underprivileged communities reach their dreams through higher education. It launched Project Achievement, specifically aimed to increase the graduation rate of black male students. Dr. Damon Hargrove is VP of Student Development, and he spoke to Bloomberg about why initiatives like Project Achievement matter.
We explain to the men entrepreneurship, the value of their college degree. We always end our meetings by saying that it's worth it. What we do, what you're doing, you may not see it now, but it's worth it.
With Project Achievement and other initiatives, Union College has already seen improvement in the graduation rate of their black male student population. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America N.A.
Every business seeks an advantage, whether it's having the best location, hiring top talent, or spotting trends before they happen. And now, the United States Postal Service can give your business a new advantage. Introducing USPS Ground Advantage. Reliable and affordable 2 to 5 day package shipping. It's the advantage you need at the price you want. Get the Ground Advantage at USPS.com/advantage. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America.
The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect that of the staff and management of Good Karma Brands, but are the sole responsibility of the host and guests of this particular show.
America may have many, many days, but they will be full of trouble. There will be no rest. There will be no tranquility in this country until the nation comes to terms with our problems.
Bringing you social and political commentary from his mouth to your ears, breaking down the issues which matter to you.
You are not put here to be a white man's footstool. You are put here to represent the very best in God's word.
Legendary civil rights icon, the Reverend Jesse Jackson in the studio. Reverend Jackson, how are you?
Mr. Sherwin, good morning on this chilly Milwaukee morning.
And I am pleased to have one of the founding members of the Black Panther Party, Chairman Bobby Seale. Mr. Chairman, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
To Mr. Eric Holder. Mr. Holder, so good to see you. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, man. How you been? It's been a long time. Haven't seen you for a while.
The Dr. Cornell West. Dr. West, how are you, sir?
My dear brother, you're so kind, you're so generous, man. But I salute you and the work that you were doing there. Doing a magnificent job there in Wisconsin.
Stream live on 1017thetruth.com. Call in with your questions or comments. 833-212-1017. Join us on social media at 1017thetruth. It may not be what you expect to hear, but I will definitely give you what you need to know. Are you ready for the truth?
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Now, live from the American Family Insurance Studio at the Avenue in the heart of downtown Milwaukee, here is Sherwin Hughes.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. Today is Monday, September 11, 2023. Still a date that lives in infamy for a number of reasons. Of course, those lives that were lost 22 years ago during the terrorist attacks of September 11th. So you guys that are familiar with me, some of you are, some of you are not. On days in which I broadcast on September 11th, because sometimes it falls on a weekend, I go into this deep dive and go into the details that were not covered or were not known the days, the weeks, even the months after the attack. Some of that information was revealed after years of investigation, et cetera, scientific discovery, all those other things. But I'm not going to engage in the conspiracy theory talk. Let me tell you why. So first of all, let me just say, I think that September 11th was an inside job because of what was able to happen politically afterwards, because of the passing of the Patriot Act, which is still here. It's still in force. But there was a need for the Patriot Act, but we had to have a major precipitating event to scare Americans to death. Even though I don't call it a conspiracy theory, because personally I think it's obvious, but it's a conspiracy theory because people just don't want to believe it. There's too much conspiracy theories that are happening now in other places in our politics that seriously threaten American democracy. So will I be engaging in my viewpoints on September 11th? Not really. I mean, if you press me, I might. But there's something else that is looming in the atmosphere that should be consuming the news all over the world, certainly in North America, maybe South America too, Europe and Germany and France and Australia. Something happened yesterday, something major, something monumental, earth-shattering even. Certainly historic. Big day yesterday, September 10th, 2023. It's another day that will live on in infamy. It was the day in which the Green Bay Packers started an African-American quarterback who started his professional career as QB1 in the hostile territory of Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. A friend of mine asked me at 3:09 p.m. I got the receipts. That's why I can tell you it was 3:09 in the p.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday, September 10th, 2023. They send me a text message. Hey, Sherwin, do you have a prediction for the Packers-Bears score? Kickoff is at 3:25. The text message I sent was at 3:09 with my prediction. You know what my prediction was? Prediction was Packers 38, Chicago Bears 23. Final score ended up being Green Bay Packers 38, Chicago 20. Had Chicago kicked and made a single field goal, my prediction would have been accurate. I think Jordan Love is going to be a stellar quarterback. There's no question about it. The poise, the maturity that he exhibited yesterday. Now, there were a couple of mistakes, but don't you worry about that. I'm also getting a lot more positive feelings for Matt LaFleur. I wasn't really sure how to feel about him because he, of course, made some questionable coaching calls over his tenure being the Green Bay Packers coach. I also blamed him probably disproportionately for the falling out with Aaron Rodgers. But I know this much. Matt LaFleur knows how to coach and win against the Chicago Bears. Ultimately, if this season turns out to be less than perfect, and it won't be a perfect season. If the Green Bay Packers are 500 with a brand new quarterback, I think that would be a success. But if they beat the Chicago Bears, especially at Soldier Field to start the season, all is right with me in the world. All right, so this concludes the sports portion of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. A couple other things I want to get to today. So, of course, we are commemorating the 22nd anniversary of the terrorist attacks that took place on September 11, 2001. The world was a much, much, much different place. In fact, some of the changes that were instituted since then are just commonplace. I can remember airline travel being just like getting on a bus, quite honestly. There was no major security. I even remember a time, because I've flown out of Boston Logan. I've flown into and out of Boston Logan Airport. In fact, the previous year, in the year 2000, I flew into and out of Boston Logan International Airport, one of the airports in which the terrorists hijacked a plane left out of Boston Logan. I remember being in Boston for a week. We were celebrating one of my family members' graduation from Harvard University, so we were out there for the entire week just living it up and living life and made a whole vacation out of it because it ain't every day that a family member graduates from Harvard. And I remember seeing this street vendor selling fake Rolex watches. And I said, I'm going to buy one because they look real. They look real good. The only thing that was different between this fake Rolex watch and a real Rolex watch, I come to find out this is the major difference between the two, is the perpetual second hand. If you ever look at a real Rolex watch, when the second hand moves around the dial, it doesn't tick. It's a very smooth motion. They call it perpetual. But the Rolex watch that I got, it ticked, and it ticked loudly. So anyone who knows a real Rolex knows that that second hand is supposed to be a smooth, sweeping motion. It is perpetual. So I bought my fake Rolex watch. I don't know, 25, 30 bucks, worth it to me. And when we were leaving Boston, flying back to Milwaukee, I remember going through the metal detector, and I had my watch on, because quite honestly, y'all, I don't even remember having like take stuff out of our pockets back in the day. Like, so this is before September 11th. Like, I don't even know if we had to like take off watches and put keys in a little bin. I seriously think all of that was post September 11th. Now, you had to walk through the magnetometer, whatever the thing is, the big thing you walk through and then it beeps and buzzes if you have metal on you. But I do not remember having to take anything out of my pockets and setting it aside and then walking. You certainly didn't have to take your shoes off back then. So I remember walking through the metal detector, and I had this fake Rolex watch on my wrist as I walked through the metal detector, and the metal detector literally lit up like Christmas. Oh, it's going crazy. Beep, 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 doodle, 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 doodle. And then I remember that, because back then there was no TSA. There was no Transportation Safety Administration. That had not yet been created. That was only a creation after the Patriot Act and when the federal government wanted to be much more hands-on in airport security. So there was no TSA back then. It was either private security or local police or the sheriffs that would do security in airports. So I walked through the metal detector with this fake Rolex on my wrist. And I know that's what set the metal detector off. Diddle, 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 diddle. And so, of course, I stopped. And then I looked at whoever it was providing security, because he had the handheld magnetometer, I believe it's called. And I'm expecting him to want to search me. You know what this dude said to me? He's like, go ahead. Of all the things that I keep in my memory, and as I get older, it seems that some of my more distant memories are simply fading into the dust. I remember that. I remember the complete lack of security at an airport in which one of the hijackers boarded a plane at Boston Logan. I could have had artillery on me. Now, I didn't. The most dangerous thing I had was a lie on my left wrist, which was a fake Rolex watch. But I'll never forget whoever that individual was. And I still remember his face. He was an older Caucasian fellow that was clean shaven, had deep frown lines on his face. He just let me go. He's like, oh, just go ahead. Maybe it was because of security being that lax, because we never thought in a million years that an American plane would be hijacked, let alone by foreign nationals. The most extreme thing we could have ever thought of is they would fly those planes into buildings. Tower 1, then Tower 2, then for some unknown reason to man, God, science, and physics, World Trade Center 7 fell on its own many hours later. You know what they told us about that? They said the ground was unstable, so that building completely fell in a controlled demolition. It also should be noted, the only times in history, in all of history, in which a building, let alone 2, not to mention 3, have collapsed from a plane hitting it was Tower 1 and Tower 2. It should be noted that throughout the course of aviation history and the engineering done by man, where we have built tall buildings, planes have hit buildings before. That was not the first time, but it was the first time in which buildings collapsed in a controlled demolition in a relatively short amount of time from being hit by a plane. Now, I'm not going to go all deep into it, because I know when I get to talking science, y'all get mad because a bunch of y'all sat in the back of the science class. There's so much more I could say, but I think I may spare you. One more thing before I go to break, somewhat unrelated. So, you know, people are anti-vaxxers. There's a new COVID vaccine coming out, which a bunch of y'all are not going to get. I asked y'all a couple of weeks ago to get a flu shot. Y'all basically cussed me out, told me I was crazy. Okay, fine. So if you're anti-vax, just a real quick question for the anti-vax people. And I'm not trying to convince you. So if science is not enough to convince you, then old Sherwin is not going to be able to do much to change your mind. But if you're worried about the things they put in the vaccine, I don't know, what is it? Microchips, poison, mercury, egg yolks? I don't know what it is you guys are worried about that's in the vaccine. A little bit of crack, maybe, just a little touch, just for flavor, just a sprinkling of crack. Can't they put the same stuff in a pill? So why aren't anti-vax people also anti-pill? So if you're worried about the doctors and the medicines and the pharmaceutical industry trying to kill everybody, so you won't take the vaccine because they put the stuff in the vaccine that's going to kill you. Okay, you're not going to get a flu shot because there's murder juice. That's what a flu vaccine is. And of course, all of the COVID vaccines, they do nothing more but kill people. Okay, but a bunch of y'all will take Tylenol and Advil and aspirin and ibuprofen, and you take medicines for your diabetes and for your kidney disease, and you take birth control pills. Americans take a lot of pills. So if they're trying to kill us, can't they just put the same substances in the pills? You also should note that depending upon what you're taking the pill for, whatever your ailment is, it's like 3% or 5% of the actual medicine. And the 97 and 95% is like other stuff. It's like filler. And a lot of times when they have medicine recalls, you guys familiar with medicine recalls? Maybe you've been prescribed a medication that has been recalled in the past. It is not for the percentage of the effective medicine that's treating your ailment. It's because one of the different fillers that they put in that pill is something that can cause adverse health reactions. So it's just a question for the universe. How come anti-vax people aren't anti-pill? Your doctor says, hey, you have a condition, take these pills, here's a prescription, we'll call the prescription into your pharmacy, go to the pharmacy and get the pill. Okay, doctor, all right, I'm going to go to the pharmacy. I don't know why you have a southern accent all of a sudden, but you do. All right, I'm going to go and get my prescription. Thanks, doctor. Appreciate you. But if that same doctor says, hey, you know, you're at risk for getting serious complications for the flu or from COVID, you should probably get a COVID vaccine or a booster or a flu shot. Hell no, doctor, I will do no such thing. It's murder juice and a sprinkling of crack in the COVID vaccine. So I'm just curious. Take a break, come back, probably engage you in more conspiracy theories that's likely to trigger somebody. You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 101.7thetruth.com.
This is 101.7 The Truth's Sherwin Hughes, and I am Milwaukee. This show has meant so much to me because it's an opportunity for me to express my thoughts and my feelings to my community, and for my community to express those same thoughts and feelings right back to me. Milwaukee means a lot to me. I was born here, raised here, educated here, and I'm committed to making this a better city. Join the home of Milwaukee's realest conversations where you can speak your truth. We are the new 101.7 The Truth. Milwaukee, Black Talk.
At Associated Bank, they know opportunity can't wait. If you're a female or minority small business owner, their community uplift loans could be for you. Loans range from $5,000 to $50,000. Get funds in as little as one business day. Talk to a relationship manager today about a community uplift loan and other business banking services. Call 800-270-7725. Visit AssociatedBank.com or stop by your local branch. Because you help build the Midwest and your neighborhoods, they got your back. Associated Bank, your money works here. Subject to credit approval, member FDIC, equal opportunity lender.
It's time for Truth Takes, a thought-provoking commentary on the new 101.7 The Truth. Here is Telly Hughes with his truth.
My mom used to always tell me, be careful of the company you keep. My interpretation of that message was, don't hang out around bad people doing bad things. When my thoughts became a little more sophisticated, I realized it was her way of making me understand the power of influence others can have on your decisions. No matter the distance perception might be from reality, you are or will become who you hang around. Benefit by surrounding yourself with like-minded people or mentors you can see yourself becoming and use their journey as a blueprint. That's why you don't see eagles hanging with pigeons, because they don't have the same goals or aspirations. Words are just words when you don't understand or practice the meaning. So I had to turn to one of my favorite books. That's right. Sounds nerdy, but I went to the old dictionary to look up the word company. One of the definitions of company is the fact or condition of being with another or others, especially in a way that provides friendship and enjoyment. In addition to that definition, keep in mind the company you keep is a choice. The company you keep can propel you to great heights or rob you of all your hopes and dreams based on your association or who is championing you. Don't be afraid to stand up and stand out for the right reasons, even if that means having to do it alone, because sooner or later, others will understand.
This has been Truth Takes on the new 1017 The Truth. Listen to The Truth Be Told with DT and Telly weekdays from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Well, as suspected, the anti-vaxxers are up early this morning and they are drinking coffee. As I already received a text message, 414982 says SARS-CoV-2 spike protein causes blood coagulation and thrombosis by competitive binding to heparin sulfate PMC. So is this, hang on, let me scroll up. They sent something else. Spike proteins, it's the spike proteins that is causing the problem, Sherwin. In the vaccine or in the COVID? Because, and thank you for sending me the link to the, what is this now? The National Library of Medicine, and what they are describing is a protein that's in COVID, not the vaccine. When you am I talking about this? Am I really going to go here with the anti-vaxxers? The question I had was, y'all ain't going to do whataboutism with me. Like whenever I say, oh, Trump did a bunch of bad stuff and people change the subject, but saying, well, what about Biden? I'm asking you a question. Those people that are anti-vax and you have your reasons for being anti-vax, are you also anti-pill? Because you don't know what's in those pills. You just go on good faith that there's something in the pill that's going to make you feel better. Does anybody know what's in Pepto-Bismol? Nope, but you take it and it works. It really does. Rhea, have you ever taken Pepto-Bismol? Of course you have, because it's trusted. It's pink liquid chalk with probably 1,000 different chemical ingredients in it, but we take it. They could have all sorts of stuff in the Pepto-Bismol. We don't even question it. Most of the time when we need some Pepto-Bismol, we're not reading the label. We just go and look for the pink bottle and we'll take the Pepto-Bismols. I can't get into arguments with the anti-vaxxers today. I ain't got patience for it. September 11th, you'd need to have some reverence for those who lost their lives in what I'm going to call an inside job, and I don't want to argue about that either. 720401 says, I don't even know what this person talking about. Potawatomi Railroad Diner, thank you, much love. I don't know what that is. I don't even, first of all, where's the 720 area code? I don't know what's happening. Julie says, Sherwin, do you still have the fake Rolex and does it still work? Hell no, I don't still have it. I'm sure wherever it is, it doesn't work anymore. Here's the part that I didn't quite realize, because when I purchased it off the streets of Boston in the year 2000 for 25 or 30 American dollars, it was very shiny. It was gold. It looked very real. It looked extremely gold. The gold was very shiny. It was authentic looking. Well, after about a couple of weeks, it didn't look so shiny anymore. It tarnished faster than any other fake jewelry I have ever seen. Therefore, I could not wear it anymore, because not only did the second hand not move perpetually, the gold was fading and fading rapidly. So no, I had to stop wearing it. But for the couple of weeks maybe that I did wear it, I felt very special. DeAngel's Advocate says, my understanding about 9/11 is that America taught bin Laden to fight the Russians and forced them out from the occupation of his country. All very true. America's military promised to leave bin Laden's country afterward. They did not. Mama told me if you can't beat the big bully, grab a stick or a brick and hit him where it hurts. He may still beat you up, but he won't mess with you no more. There's a lot to unpack there. It is not unusual for the United States military to train other people and other soldiers to fight a proxy war on our behalf. That's just a part of U.S. foreign policy. That exists all of the time. You can look at the Contras versus the Sandinistas when we were working with Miguel Noriega. We wanted to stop the spread of communism in Central America because there was always this fear of a domino effect that communism would begin to spread. That was one of the main reasons why we went into Vietnam, probably one of the largest military blunders this country has ever made. Vietnam was a military blunder. It was a mistake, and we lost that war. That does not take away from the men and women who sacrificed in that decades-long military campaign, but we lost it. We were afraid that communism would spread throughout Southeast Asia and have an impact on the Western world and our capitalism dominance. And so we sent troops into Vietnam. In fact, Kennedy sent the first troop, aka military advisors, into Vietnam, and I think we know what happened after that. But we'll train other soldiers. I mean, we're doing it in the Ukraine. We don't ever want to fight Russia directly because the consequences will be catastrophic. But what we can do is train Afghan soldiers, give them the necessary equipment, and we essentially bankrupted the Soviet Union because the amount of money that they had to spend to replace their military equipment far exceeded the amount of money that they had budgeted, or quite honestly, the amount of money that they had. And so as long as we kept funneling unlimited amounts of money to Osama bin Laden and his fighting forces in northern Afghanistan, Russia would have to continue to spend a whole bunch of money, and eventually Russia was like, it's not worth it anymore to spend all of this money, however the Russians sound. So that's essentially what happened. But that's also how we ended the Soviet Union. We bankrupted them. We got into an arms race with them. You got to keep in mind, with American capitalism, we have an unlimited amount of money to buy whatever we want. We can have the American taxpayers fund a lot of the stuff. We can raise your taxes like Ronald Reagan did probably a dozen or so times in his 2 terms. Ronald Reagan raised taxes like a liberal would. So we had to keep buying more weapons. They had to keep expanding the military, and Russia, in trying to keep up, they couldn't. They didn't have the same kind of economic system that we have that is overwhelmingly exploitative. Not communism, Russian communism was overwhelmingly exploitative too, but not like capitalism. Because at the end of the day, if the United States needed more money, we would just print more. We'd buy more weapons. We'd buy more tanks. We'd buy more bombs. We'd buy more guns. Russia could not keep up, and they bankrupted themselves. And that is really what ended capitalism, the American dollar. Oh, and it's mighty. It can end entire nations. And it did. But we learned that through funding Osama bin Laden and his allies and fighting Russia and when they were trying to invade Afghanistan, 1979, right? There's a movie called Charlie Wilson's War. Fantastic piece of cinema starring Tom Hanks. That movie explains it a lot better than I can, but I can do a pretty good job of explaining it. Charlie Wilson's War, starring Tom Hanks, came out, I don't know, probably 20 years ago. It explains how we funded Osama bin Laden in beating the Russians. But I think there was something else that was at play during September 11th. So if you can recall the early 2000s, we didn't have the opium, heroin epidemics that we have right now. It just didn't exist. Because when the Taliban was in control, because, you know, they're really super strict religious zealots. Like, they are, when it comes to Islam, they are evangelicals on steroids. They don't drink. They don't consume any drugs. They're very much against drugs. They had to grow those beards. They had very strict societal rules for men, especially for women. And so when the Taliban was in power, the amount of opium poppy that could be exported was essentially zero. When the Taliban lost control of northern Afghanistan, as we started sending more fighting forces into Kabul and into other places, the Taliban lost control of those poppy fields. Now those poppy fields were under U.S. occupation. So here's the thing about war. The American people don't like to pay for war because we see all the other things that are lacking right outside of our doors, right outside of our windows. We can't get the potholes filled. We can't fund our schools. We can't, provide some kind of economic relief for the cost of health care. So Americans don't like to waste money on stuff that we deem non-essential. And Americans have never really liked foreign wars. Blame Vietnam for that. A lot of people saw what happened during Vietnam and said, we are not going to get involved in these costly, decades-long foreign campaigns ever again. I think that sticks to this day. It's why you have a whole bunch of people in this country that are complaining about how much money we send to the Ukraine. We don't like foreign wars. We believe that money is best spent here at home. So here's what we do. We allow the countries that we are aiding, or we tell them, hey, we're only going to give you so much money. We'll be your ally in this war. Northern Afghanistan fighting alliances. We know that you guys don't like Osama bin Laden. We know you guys don't like the Taliban. We're going to help you get rid of Osama bin Laden and the Taliban, but we, the American people, are only going to give you so much money. So what we do is we allow those people who were in the poppy opium trade in northern Afghanistan, which was now under U.S. control, we allowed them to produce and export heroin to pay for the war. Europe's heroin epidemic exploded before ours did because I think they call it the Silk Road. Is that what they call it? This transit highway of drugs and illegal substances that go from the Middle East to other parts of Europe and Asia. And so to pay for the war in Afghanistan, we allowed a certain amount of opium and poppy to be sold and was synthesized into heroin. We did the same thing in Central America when we allowed Emmanuel Noriega to ship his cocaine to the United States, where people like Freeway Ricky Ross turned it into crack to fuel and fund a war in Central America where we, the United States, wanted to stop the spread of communism. The Contras versus the Sandinistas. We didn't want to pay for that. In fact, Ronald Reagan went to Tip O'Neill, who was the Speaker of the House for many, many years. And Ronald Reagan said, hey, Tip, I need a whole bunch of money to fight a proxy war in Central America. Tip O'Neill said no. And the Democrats in the House said no. And Ronald Reagan said, you sure? And Tip O'Neill was like, yeah, we're pretty positive. We're just 10 years off from the Vietnam War. We don't want to fund with American tax dollars any kind of proxy wars because it's just very unpopular. Reagan was like, okay. Then they made a deal. They said, hey, Emmanuel Noriega, if you sell cocaine to the United States where there's literally an unlimited and insatiable appetite for drugs, will you please use some of that money to help fight the war going on in your country? And Emmanuel Noriega was like, absolutely, I will do this. The crack epidemic, if anything, was an extension of foreign policy because we didn't want the spread of communism, right? We didn't want to use American tax dollars to fund the war in Central America to stop the spread of communism in El Salvador and San Salvador, et cetera, et cetera. So they sold crack to fund the war. It's just foreign politics. That's all it is. We're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. Friday Night Lights now officially lives here. 1017 The Truth is the proud home of Marquette Hilltoppers football. Tune in this Friday night as the Hilltoppers hit the road to take on the Menominee Falls Phoenix. The football action kicks off at 7 p.m. on the award-winning 1017 The Truth. Marquette Hilltoppers football is presented by Gruber Law Offices and sponsored by Capital Insurance Agency, Magic Productions, Annex Wealth Management, C.G. Schmidt, Leff's Lucky Town, Liberty Engineering, and Marquette University High School.
When looking for a healthcare provider, you want someone who genuinely cares about you, which is why Health Connections Incorporated is where it's at. They're a Black, woman-led nonprofit organization that provides both clinical and non-clinical healthcare. The direct clinical care they provide includes primary care, HIV care and prevention, and transgender health. HCI leaders are advocates, activists, decision makers, speakers, organizers, and collaborators on social determinants of health that impact healthcare access and health equity for all. Sign up for their mailing list at healthconnectmke.org.
The next disaster is coming. The time to get ready is now. Make a plan. Identify meetup locations and people you'll need to contact. Put your contact list in your wallet, on your phone, and somewhere visible in your home. Build a kit. Store enough food and water for 3 days. Don't forget your pets. And consider buying a pre-made kit. Keep at least 7 days of medication on hand. Work with your pharmacist and insurance company to secure the extra doses. Make copies of important documents. Keep them on your phone, in the cloud, or on a USB stick. Stay informed. Learn about local hazards. Take courses in CPR and first aid. And sign up for local alert systems. An early warning can give you the time you need to prepare for a fast-moving disaster. Be ready. Learn more at americares.org/send-us-in.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org.
This Associated Bank Sports Update on 101.7 The Truth is powered by ESPN Milwaukee. I'm Brandon Stein. NFL football is officially back as the Green Bay Packers rolled into Chicago and stamped their statement in a Week 1 win, dominating the Bears by a final score of 38-20.
Four-man rush. Love has Jones in stride. Aaron Jones racing to the end zone, and he's in! Touchdown, Green Bay!
Love completed 15 of 27 passes for 245 yards, including 3 scores. The 1-0 Packers will now shift their focus to Week 2 as they get set to travel down south to take on the Falcons. The Milwaukee Brewers suffered a deflating loss on Sunday. Corbin Burns threw 8 no-hit innings, and the team took the no-hitter all the way into the 11th inning, but the Yankees do walk it off in the 13th by a final score of 4-3. Milwaukee and Miami tonight from AmFam Field. Coverage get underway over on WTMJ beginning at 6 p.m. This sports update is brought to you by Associated Bank, proudly supporting your hometown teams. Member FDIC.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
The more you study history, you'll start to see some patterns, and those patterns become very predictable. History doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it rhymes, especially when the United States finds itself in a foreign conflict in which we have not yet sent troops, but we are sending resources, military equipment, military advisors, and money. And in my lifetime, there have been at least 4 of those such occurrences, and they all have major similarities. We are in the 4th occurrence right now with Ukraine. Eventually, especially if it becomes an issue for Joe Biden's reelection campaign, which we are going to talk about today, the way I see it, and with my understanding of history, more specific political history, Joe Biden's reelection is starting to fade. I'm going to give you some details as to why that is, but I also want people to be prepared for what it looks like if Trump gets reelected, or the more likely scenario, if it is razor thin and close. It can be even closer than the 42,000 votes Joe Biden won by, in like between us and Wisconsin Arizona, and Georgia had 42,000 people in just 3 states decided to either not vote, vote third party, or vote for Trump. Because that's all we're playing with here, ladies and gentlemen. You got 330, 340 million people in this country, and the next presidential election will be decided by 42,000 people. And I don't necessarily trust those 42,000 people, especially when you have a growing chorus of people all over the place, Democrats, Republicans, those politically non-affiliated, that say that Joe Biden is just too old. Doesn't matter about the Inflation Reduction Act. Doesn't matter about his stances on reducing the cost and capping the cost of insulin. Doesn't matter about what he's trying to do on climate control. Doesn't matter that there has been some very limited student loan forgiveness. Joe Biden is just too old. And the other problem is his backup is not a suitable replacement. No one is saying Kamala Harris is the heir apparent, and that troubles me. 42,000 votes. And depending upon how these primary elections go, depending upon how these Iowa caucuses go, depending upon Donald Trump's court cases, that could be just enough to tip the scales to where those 42,000 people either don't vote, vote third party, or vote for Donald Trump, and then you have a whole new America. In the meantime, let's talk to Bob. You're on 101.7 The Truth. How are you?
Hello, Sherwin. Before you jump ship now about this foreign policy, you're already starting right now. Nikki Haley, they had a poll that says she's ahead of Biden 46 to 43 or something.
Sure is.
And now, let me ask you, did Nikki Haley, is she pro-choice or I think she is. I think she's
not even, Bob, she is the complete opposite. Not only is she pro-life, she supports a federal ban on abortion.
Okay, they had their chance with Clinton to get a white woman to be president, and they missed it. Now.
Nikki Haley isn't white.
Huh?
Nikki Haley is not white.
No, I'm talking about Clinton. Okay. They had a chance to get a white woman, and then they didn't. They did Trump. Now, Nikki Haley, what's going to make that poll ridiculous is the fact she says, and made a big deal out of it, China is our enemy. Whereas Biden said, hey, it's China, we want China to do good. And, but we just disagree on policies. And he said, Nikki Haley, she said it like, we need to go to war with China. Get mad with your husband and go to war with him. Don't be putting these people in harm's way because you say China's an enemy. That's why that's almost worse as abortion thing. And one more thing, Ukraine. There may be, a lot of people say they should be helping people in the United States and doing this and we got homeless people. Well, they are in the United States. They maybe 5 to 10% are mentally ill. But just like I was in a shelter for 2 months and 2 days, I'm in America. And I was able to pull out of that and be a good boy.
Wait, Bob. Wait. Hold on. You were in a shelter.
Yeah, I told you I was in that shelter, y'all shelter on 16th and Wales, for 2 months and 2 days because I gambled too much like an idiot. But, I pulled myself out, and I believe 80% of people in this country can pull themselves out. And when they say, oh, we got, well, I know we got people in this country that need help. Yeah, but they can pull themselves
Bob,
out.
you lost the rent, gambling, and became homeless?
Well, for a little while, I chose to, and I didn't have to, but I just said, let me get me in a pop.
So what happened to the kids? When you was in the shelter, where was the kids at?
Oh, man, I was I was 47, 48. They were grown when I was 43. They was on their own when I was 43, man. I mean, you know.
You couldn't live with your kids didn't want you to live with them? They said, no, Daddy, go to the shelter.
No, I didn't have no stroke till I was in my 50s. So, you know, I was playing basketball at y'all Martin Luther King Center, skating at y'all rink, being a school bus driver for 3 years, concrete driver. I mean, I was in Milwaukee. I mean, for quite a while.
You was also in Potawatomi, apparently.
Yeah, I know.
And you still go to Potawatomi. You need to keep your tail out the casino, Bob. I'm serious. Don't go back to the casino. Ain't nothing but bad luck in there for you.
You sound like my mommy. I know how to handle myself.
Apparently not, sir. I got to take a break, look, Bob. Just stay out the casino, please.
All right, you take care.
All right, then, Bob. I don't know if we knew Bob had forced himself into homelessness because of his gambling. I promise you, every time this man calls, I learn another shocking and disappointing fact about his life. I guess that's what you get on The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 101.7thetruth.com. Coming with straight truth.
In my lifetime, I've watched, we got to intercede when they're in high school. We got to intercede when they're a junior. Intercede when they're a sophomore, freshman. Got to intercede when they're in 8th grade. It's the time in between. Oh, no, it's 6th grade. It's 5th grade. Now we're talking 3rd grade. So at what point will we figure out it's a good time?
Listen to The Truth in the Afternoon with Dr. Ken Harris on 101.7 The Truth and The Truth app.
Hey, Truth fans, it's Dee Kemp, Vice President of Programs for Axe Housing. I am so excited to give you some information about how we can help you and your family reach the dream of owning your own home. At Axe Housing, we know you may be struggling to buy your own home due to financial strain, or maybe you don't even know how to get started on the path to home ownership. This is where Axe Housing can help. We will provide you with your own home buying coaching team who will help you with the entire home buying process from start to finish. That includes the home search, the loan process, and the big closing day on your dream home. Why rent when you can own? Here at Axe Housing, we help prepare families for successful home ownership. Stop paying rent and start building wealth. Reach out to our Axe Housing team today because we believe in you and we know home ownership can be within your reach. Visit us today at axhousing.org to get started. That's ACTShousing.org.
At Associated Bank, they know opportunity can't wait. If you're a female or minority small business owner, their community uplift loans could be for you. Loans range from $5,000 to $50,000. Get funds in as little as 1 business day. Talk to a relationship manager today about a community uplift loan and other business banking services. Call 800-270-7725. Visit AssociatedBank.com or stop by your local branch. Because you help build the Midwest and your neighborhoods, they got your back. Associated Bank, your money works here. Subject to credit approval, member FDIC, equal opportunity lender.
Sharon needed legal help. She needed Gruber Law Offices.
When I think about Gruber Law Office, I think about how they took care of me, how they make sure that you get what you're supposed to get. Gruber Law Office. One call, that's all. I will always trust one call, that's all.
Injured? Call Gruber Law Offices today. One call, that's all.
They are the best. I'm very happy.
Girl, I know sometimes you feel tired and overworked, so it's time to pamper your inner queen at Queen's Palace Beauty and Wellness Studio. They're currently offering personalized and relaxing massages, facials, body polish, and now the Fatigue Feet Fix, which can be added on with any service and includes a foot soak, foot cleanse, foot scrub, foot massage, and a paraffin foot treatment, all while enjoying light refreshments and hors d'oeuvres of your choosing. So get your relaxation on. You know you deserve it. Book your appointment today at queenspalace.net.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 101.7thetruth.com.
If I asked you your opinion on what you think the biggest threat to American national security is, what would you say? What was the biggest problem or issue that we have to our safety as a nation? Some of you might say an open border policy. Some of you might say Donald Trump is the biggest threat to national security. Whole bunch of y'all would simply say Joe Biden and the Democrats. The rest of you would say Obama's gay. But if I asked you the question and want an actual answer, rooted in fact, an objective answer, what is the biggest threat to American national security? I'm curious as to what you'd say. Madison says, so when are you going to discuss why you wasn't Mandela Barnes +1 to Kamala Harris's hip hop party? The clips that I saw of that were awkward. She was dancing and just looking unvice presidential. I don't like, what was that party? Why did she have Lil Wayne performing at her house? It was a hip hop party, right? Celebrate the 50th anniversary of hip hop. I just, and I didn't know the Mandela was there. I didn't know that. The Angel's Advocate says, Sir, sure, if America helps Ukraine beat Russia out of their country, Ukraine say thanks for your support and ask America to leave their country too. But America won't leave and set up shop with their military. What do you think Ukraine will eventually do? What would you do? We don't have, to the best of my knowledge, we don't have American troops nor armed forces in Ukraine. We are sending money and weapons. And if we do have a military contingent in Ukraine, it's probably very small because the American people would have a fit. I'm sure the Biden administration has been briefed on how the war could go better if we just said, no, just send a couple thousand Marines. Marines get the job done. They really do. Not that other branches of the military don't get the job done, but the Marines go in first. But I don't think the American people have the appetite for that. It would be a very good re-election strategy for Joe Biden because anytime you have American troops committed somewhere on foreign soil, the American people are less likely to change leaders during whatever that military campaign is. But I don't think that we have any troops over there. But the other thing is we want to protect Ukraine because they'll join NATO and they'll be a strategic ally in the region for the United States. You know, we like countries to be allied with us that are very close to some of our enemies. That's why we give so much money to Israel. Israel is like the size of Chicago, but they're a nuclear power. Why? Because they are in very close proximity to a whole bunch of other countries in the Middle East that we don't get along with so good. So we need to have them as an ally and as a partner. Ukraine would be the same thing. I don't think the United States has any material interest in occupying militarily Ukraine. We want to protect them because if we can put a whole bunch of nuclear weapons in Ukraine to aim them at Russia, that actually makes a lot more sense from a foreign policy and military strategy perspective. But I don't think that we're trying to occupy Ukraine. Ain't nothing there for us. 414-875 says, there's a backstory to Bob that keeps unfolding. Every time he calls, more details of his history comes out. He may need to go back to his saxophone playing. We love Bob and all of Truth Nation. Thank you, 414-875. Remember when it was so simple? Do y'all remember that? Bob will call every Monday at 11 o'clock, poorly play the saxophone with a way too loud YouTube video going on in the background. And how do we know he was using a YouTube video as his background? Because the commercials that play before the YouTube video would just play for like 2 minutes. Remember when it was simple? Now we found out a whole bunch about Bob. He went on a date last week, apparently got stood up, but then started hitting on the owner of the restaurant that he was supposed to meet his date at. We know he has sugar daddy tendencies. We know he loves the casino. Learning a lot about Bob. Rock says, Rock, you're absolutely correct. Rock says, I think white nationalists are the biggest threat to the country. They are, and I'm going to further develop that in hour two. Unquestionably, there is no equivalent. White nationalism and growing political violence is the absolute biggest threat to American national security. But you're not going to get anybody to believe that other than black people. And, you know, when we believe stuff, it doesn't matter. But that is the on-paper objective truth of what the biggest threat to this country is, to its people, and even to our democracy. Do you know that they will upend American democracy if they can maintain the last shreds of power of white supremacy? And it's not even personal. For them, it's just the way they want to operate. And it's even ingrained so deeply in the white people that want to do good, like the white people that see all the black suffering, and they have some kind of understanding of their privileged position and how they are like systematically inoculated from suffering, as some white middle class people are, and they see all the poor black people and the black children, and they want to help them. The white savior complex is probably one of the most dangerous instruments of white supremacy because it's shrouded in good, and it drops our guard. Our guard gets let down when there's a whole bunch of white people that say, hey, poor blacks, we want to help you. We know that your life is really screwed up and things are not good for you, and your communities are under-resourced and underfunded, and your schools are not performing very well. Please let us in. Please let us help you. And what do we say? Come on in. And what happens then, they then can take advantage of our most vulnerable and have a disproportionate negative impact on our children. Look at all these social service agencies that are headed by white women. And we just welcome them in. We think they can't have a racist bone in their body. Here's something that you learn about human beings, period. If there is a system of oppression that exists in a country, in a place, it exists in everybody. It exists in everybody. It exists in black people, Latin people, Asian people, white people, men, women, Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, and even liberals. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back for hour two.
The 1017 The Truth Street Team, sponsored by UW Credit Union, is coming to an event near you. Join us this Wednesday as Dr. Ken Harris will be broadcasting live from the Milwaukee Night Market located right in the front of the 3rd Street Market Hall. Come watch Dr. Ken do his thing live from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. as we celebrate the final Milwaukee Night Market of the summer. The 1017 The Truth Street Team is sponsored by UW Credit Union. They are here for every you.
Thank you, Truth Nation. Your willingness to share your stories with our community has helped make the Tory Lowe Show a 2-time first place Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Award winner.
Hey, I'm tapping in for the Milwaukee County Jail. Yeah, man, they treating us real bad up here, man. I mean, they had us sleeping in feces and urine. They took the batteries from us, told us there wasn't no batteries in stock. I ain't never heard that in my life.
We do this all for you, Milwaukee. We are the award-winning 1017 The Truth, Milwaukee Black Talk.
Truth Nation, it's your boy Tory Lowe, and I know how much you love listening to me bring all the smoke each and every day from 1 to 4, but now, not only can you hear me bring all the smoke, you can watch me bring all the smoke because the award-winning 1017 The Truth is streaming live. Watch all your favorite shows live.
Yeah, Truth Nation, you heard Tory Lowe, right? We are streaming all of our shows live every day. To watch the best radio station with the best on-air hosts in Milwaukee, you have to go to 1017thetruth.com and click the Watch Live link. From there, you'll be able to stream us on YouTube and Twitter and get an inside look on all the fun, like watching me from noon to 1 as I do my daily Fire Freestyle Live. Now, you know your girl got them bars, right, Benjamin?
Yeah, Mel, you got them bars, and the truth is must-see TV. So make sure y'all tap in to see my boy Tory Lowe and my girl Melanie Ricks to do their thing live every day by streaming 101.7 The Truth on YouTube and Twitter. We live, baby.
Pollution from trucks is a public health crisis. Diesel-burning trucks belch dangerous levels of pollution, and communities living near ports and along freight corridors breathe especially high levels of this dirty air. But this crisis has a solution. My name is Sasan Sadat and I work for Earth Justice. I'm working to clean up our air quality, particularly for communities that bear the burden of diesel pollution. For the sake of our lungs, our health, and our climate, the future of trucking in this country has got to be zero emissions. Until then, I will never rest.
Earth Justice is a national legal nonprofit defending the environment and people's health.
Earth Justice is fighting to save lives, protect our climate, and strengthen our economy through the shift to zero emissions. If clean air matters to you, visit us at earthjustice.org. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
Listen to the home of the 5K Gruber Cash Giveaway. 1017 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station. It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Well, it's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars up above in your eyes.
Welcome to Hour 2 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. When you have a country like ours where we have an incredible amount of freedom, I don't think that we take it for granted. I think we do take it for granted, rather. I don't think that we compare ourselves to other nations that cannot do, that cannot say, that cannot live, that cannot operate the way we do. So it doesn't matter the freedoms that we have, don't realize, and take for granted. We're concerned about all the stuff we can't do. It's a whole bunch of things that we feel as Americans we are limited from doing. And it depends on the person, and it depends on the day. But we don't look at all the freedoms that we have. We look at all the ones that we believe that we don't. We may think we have an overwhelmingly harsh criminal justice system. We may think that the war on drugs is still here, it's still prevalent, and it's still hurting and harming people. There's some people that probably find it oppressive that marijuana is still illegal. But our freedom of speech and freedom of expression is essentially unmatched and unparalleled to really any other country in the world. We can have, let me give you just one example, and probably one of the most poignant examples of how far our freedom of speech in this nation goes. You can publicly support a domestic terrorist organization that at one point in American history sought to overthrow the U.S. government to maintain the buying and selling of human beings as property. And they had a symbol. They had a flag. It was the American Confederacy. You can still be a Confederate in the United States, and you can still freely fly the stars and bars, and that is protected speech. We protect our enemies. You can be a total enemy of democracy, of Democrats, of black people, of gay people, an enemy of diversity, and then you can weaponize your hatred and call all of that stuff that you believe is not in your Confederate viewpoints, you can call it woke, and you can run for president on it. For those of you that watched the Packer game yesterday, there was a commercial. I don't know if you saw it, but this one rocked me to my core. And I've seen all sorts of political ads. I've seen some horrible ones, some frightening ones. I've seen some very good ones. I've seen some optimistic ones. I've seen some inspiring ones. In all of the years I've been paying attention to politics, I've even created political ads that have been a mixture of all of the above. But did you see the African-American man, a black daddy, and his baby? It was a commercial they ran during the Packer game. I know some of you seen it. It was a black man and his black child saying that we need to stop critical race theory. We need to stop teaching it. And so they'd show a couple of clips where there was an African-American teacher. And in the clip of this commercial that they aired during the Packer versus Bears game. And it was very strategic why they aired that commercial during that game, because it was a very highly watched game. So a lot of people were exposed to this commercial. Text me if you saw that ad. And they went to a clip of a black teacher and at the front of her classroom. I'd imagine she had an all-black student body. And this teacher, when giving the Pledge of Allegiance, she had altered the Pledge of Allegiance, telling the kids that they pledged their allegiance to Black America or something of that nature, right? That was just one of the clips. There was a couple of other clips that really made critical race theory look like it divides children, and the whole crux of the commercial was, oh, kids don't see race. If you teach critical race theory, you're going to make our kids racist. And then they had the fathers, he's kind of narrating this commercial. And then he's got a little black baby. And the little black baby's like, I love everybody. I love everybody, my friend. He's like, see, my little black baby love everybody. We got to end critical race theory. Oh, Rhea, if you could find that ad, you will win a Nobel Peace Prize. It should be relatively easy to Google. It's an anti-critical race theory ad. It ran during the Packers-Bears game. There was a website associated with it, and I was so tempted. I was tempted to go to that website and just look at that nonsense, but I didn't, because if I would have gone to that website, that would have been improving the investment that they made in that commercial, because all they want are people to go to the website. They want clicks on the website, because when you go to a website, there's these things called cookies. Even when you go to websites you fundamentally disagree with, they will attach a cookie, which is a little electronic tracking device, which follows you all around the internet and then will have influence and impact on your algorithm. I'm not trying to get all deep into algorithms, but when people say, oh, do your research, I'm going to do my research on that. Sherwin, that's not true. You didn't do your research. 90% of people do not know how to do actual research. What y'all do is you Google. But Google and the results that you get when you Google are different based upon your cookies and your internet activity and the websites you go to and the emails that you send. If I Google white people from my devices, I'm going to get different search results than a white person would get. I'm going to get different pictures. I'm going to get different articles. I'm going to get different data. So when people say, oh, do your research, when people Google, the information that you get is in line with what you already know. Very rarely will the information you get will go counter and contrary to what you already think, because they know all of your activity on the internet. And thanks to a piece of legislation called the USA Patriot Act, all of that stuff comes to fruition. So as today is September 11th, 2023, 22 years after that day, we have to look at some of the most substantial political changes that took place in the wake of that attack, because we were very upset that day, and rightfully so. Nearly 3,000 Americans lost their lives, if I'm not mistaken. 2,996, many more died from illnesses and complications due to dust and debris and asbestos and all sorts of sicknesses that arose from the sifting through of that rubble on September 11th. But there was a method to the madness there. It was either an inside job or let's take advantage of a tragedy to fundamentally change privacy in the United States. And so if I said to you that the most significant threat to American national security and our democracy, it is now twofold, because what you saw on January 6, 2021 was nothing. That was nothing. That was a test run. That was a warm-up. Please don't think that was a one and done. It wasn't. So something like that very well could happen again. And the other thing I want to say is a bit of a side note, and I'm saying this for the record. I am saying this for history purposes. So 50, 100 years from right now, if somebody happens to find this particular podcast of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes that aired live on September 11, 2023, you're going to hear me say this. The city of Milwaukee is going to regret having the Republican nominating convention in our city. We are going to regret it. It was something that was very much needed by a desperate mayor who has no base and has no major significant accomplishments and really nothing to run for re-election on, so he needed something. So if you can get the Republican convention here, well, hell, that's at least something he can say he did, right? Nothing about youth crime, youth violence, nothing about any of that, nothing about the record number of homicides. We don't even talk about homicides no more. We don't even discuss it. It doesn't even matter to us anymore. And so when you have a mayor that has no base, and none of this is personal, these are just the objective facts about the person who is leading the city of Milwaukee right now from the executive branch. He's accomplished nothing. So bringing the Republican convention here is something, but the way he had to acquiesce to national level Republicans to get it is sickening. So there used to be this thing that black folks used to have, and it used to overshadow almost everything else, called pride. Sometimes we would not reduce our pride to get the accomplishment. We would keep and maintain our pride. Bringing those terrorists to our city so they can celebrate probably nominating somebody that in fact led an insurrection and trying to overthrow the government is something we are going to be embarrassed for. Now, we ain't embarrassed yet because it didn't happen yet. But when it does happen, we're going to wish that it didn't. This article is from 2016, and it references something that was stated by James Comey, then FBI director under George W. Bush, something that he said in 2006. So what's the math on that? 17 years ago, James Comey under President George Bush, when James Comey was the FBI director under him, he had noticed something. That white nationalism was, this is in 2006 now, James Comey was telling the country that white nationalism was the biggest threat to American national security. He said that flat out, full stop. And I got the article right here. Don't worry, I'm going to read it for those of you that are non-believers. And we didn't really do much about it, but the biggest issue that he saw at the time, he's like, yeah, we got to keep our eye on this. To keep our finger on this particular pulse was not just white nationalism and white supremacy being the biggest threat to national security. This is back in 2006. He said they're joining law enforcement in record numbers. So we're really concerned about that. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can look at this. This is stuff that black folks have been saying since forever. The racists, the white nationalists, the white supremacists that are in the ranks of law enforcement is terrorism because they have power and their power is fortified by qualified immunity. But when black people say it, it doesn't matter. But they weren't joining law enforcement for the more overt acts of terrorism that police can commit against black people. And it's troubling because if you starve a community of resources, crime is going to go up. Homelessness is going to go up. Drug use, drug abuse, alcoholism is going to go up. Schools are going to be underfunded. You're going to have liquor stores and all sorts of sin and all sorts of vice in these communities. You're not going to have access to fresh food, fresh produce, all that kind of stuff that all leads to negative outcomes. And what happens is the people at their bare minimum say, well, yeah, we need more police. Our community is dangerous. We want more police, especially voters and middle-class folks. When they see more crime, their instant thought is, well, we need more police. That's a short-term solution. Long-term solution is more funding, or look at the levels that certain life-affirming ideas are funded in the suburbs, and it's funded the same way in the city, in the central city, and you'll get the same outcomes, right? That's really what the problem is. But in the short term, we say, well, we got to have more police. And if white nationalists and white supremacists know that they can have instantaneous access and power fortified by qualified immunity, if they can go into black communities with their guns and unchecked bullets, then that makes an awful lot of sense, doesn't it? From PBS.org, October 21st, 2016. Increased attention toward the killing of black men and women by police throughout the past year has ignited national conversations on racism and law enforcement. From Freddie Gray in April of 2015 to Deborah Danner, a, quote, emotionally disturbed woman fatally shot by a New York City police officer, protests around the country have forced many Americans to reassess how police engage with communities of color. In light of, or perhaps despite, the increased scrutiny, FBI Director James Comey told police officers at a national conference that because of insufficient data on use of force, Americans actually have no idea whether racial bias in policing is really the epidemic that it is. Pointing to current public outrage over police killings of African Americans, James Comey said, quote, "The absence of good information and data has aided the growing belief that police officers target particular communities. That's the narrative," he told attendees of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. "It is a narrative driven by video images of real misconduct, possible misconduct, and perceived misconduct. But even if there aren't hard statistics, the problem of racial bias among police is not new. In fact, it's been a concern of the FBI for at least a decade. Now, remember, this is in 2016. So going back to 2006, James Comey said this has been a problem for the last 10 years. So the article says exactly 10 years ago this week, and this article is from 2016, so this is back in 2006. The FBI warned of the potential consequences, including bias, of white supremacist groups infiltrating local and state law enforcement, indicating it was a significant threat to national security. In 2006. We are now in 2023. In the 2006 bulletin, the FBI detailed the threat of white nationalists and skinheads infiltrating police in order to disrupt investigations against fellow members and recruit other white supremacists. The bulletin was released during a period of scandal for many law enforcement agencies throughout the country, including a neo-Nazi gang formed by members of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department who harassed Black and Latino communities specifically. Similar investigations revealed officers at entire agencies with hate group ties in Ohio, Texas, and our neighboring state of Illinois. I'm going to take a break, come back, talk about the real threat of national security. So you got to keep in mind, since that threat has grown unchecked, since the FBI put it on its radar in 2006, it is now a threat to the entire American democracy because they now have someone that echoes their rallying cry, and his name is Donald Trump, and we are bringing him most likely to our city next year to coronate him to be the Republican nominee for president. See, this is what happens when a problem is identified and it goes unchecked. It has this way of consuming everything that we know that is good and holy. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
This is 1017 The Truth's Dr. Ken Harris, and the time is now, Milwaukee. You know, perspective is essential. What I found is the news behind the news is more important. I want you to leave my show with a sense of knowing what was missing that adds depth to the conversation. Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. on the new 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, or 1017thetruth.com.
Hey, Rhea, what are you doing?
I'm online looking for a contractor to replace my roof, and I need a reliable company.
Have you contacted Excel Property and Contracting? They're located on 57th and North Avenue, and they have great reviews on Google, and they provide free estimates. In fact, they are doing storm damage inspections in the area. They'll come out, check on the exterior of your home for damage related to recent storms that may be covered by your insurance. To schedule your free inspection, contact Al Cole at 877-277-6817 or visit their website at excelprop.com.
At Associated Bank, they know opportunity can't wait. If you're a female or minority small business owner, their community uplift loans could be for you. Loans range from $5,000 to $50,000. Get funds in as little as one business day. Talk to a relationship manager today about a community uplift loan and other business banking services. Call 800-270-7725. Visit AssociatedBank.com or stop by your local branch. Because you help build the Midwest and your neighborhoods, they got your back. Associated Bank, your money works here. Subject to credit approval, member FDIC, equal opportunity lender.
Life's better with a home policy from American Family Insurance because you'll feel protected no matter how the wind blows. All so you can keep enjoying the home of your dreams. And our expert agents can help you save up to 23% when you bundle home with auto. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. American Family Insurance. Get a quote? Find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. Visit amfam.com to learn how discounts may apply to you. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
All right, folks, let's get started. Parents, thanks for coming. As many of you know, I'm Coach Mather. Tonight I want to talk about the season, of which I only have one expectation, that everybody gets stronger. When I say get stronger, I'm not referring solely to physical strength. Sure, we'll be in the weight room, we'll be running stairs, but we're also going to focus on developing mental toughness and grit, because those are the characteristics that allow us to achieve greatness both on and off the court. So, how do we develop those things? By getting comfortable with a challenge, by cultivating the confidence necessary to overcome adversity in all forms. That's why I coach. That's my purpose. Every member of this team can lean on me, and I'll teach them how they can lean on themselves and each other.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
We still can't find the ad, but a couple of you texted in that you saw the ad during the Packers-Bears game yesterday. I can't find it. It's an African-American father who's with his child in the ad, like really adamantly explaining the case as to why we need to stop critical race theory because it creates racism in black people. So the reason why in 2006, when James Comey and the FBI first identified white nationalism, white supremacy, especially how it was infiltrating law enforcement was such a problem, it's because people are not having the proper instruction in what to look for and how white nationalism and white supremacy still impacts American politics and policy to this day. What critical race theory does is it wakes people up. That's why we use the term stay woke. Woke means, and the woke term goes back to there's evidence of it being used in the 1920s and the 1940s, and really stay woke when driving through Mississippi. This was a warning given to black people, to other black people, because there's certain places we couldn't stop. So we had to have the Green Book. This is the places where it's safe for you to stop, to get gas, to eat, to rest, hotels, etc. Stay woke while driving through Mississippi. They don't want America woke. I want you to think about this for a second. How they are using this antithetical language as a part of their political influence. They want wokeness to stop. They want you to be asleep. But then the other part that gets me is they don't like Antifa. You know what Antifa is short for, right? Of course you do. You're all very smart people because most of you sat in the front of the class. It's anti-fascists. Anti-fascist people are the enemy. Do you know that the anti-fascists were the Allied forces in World War II that stopped Nazi Germany? Mussolini was a fascist. Adolf Hitler was a fascist. So being anti-fascist is probably one of the most significant foreign policy strengths the United States has ever had. And now we are deeming anti-fascist, Antifa, the enemy. And wokeness is basically knowledge. It's intelligence. It's having an objective viewpoint of history. And there are literally people that are running for the highest offices in the land who want people to be stupid. And listen, they're winning on that regard. Whether they win the presidency, whether they wrestle it away from Joe Biden by getting 42,000 more votes, I guess all that remains to be seen. But these people are winning. I wish I could find that ad. Can y'all help us? It's an ad. Some of y'all saw it. It aired during the Packers-Bears game, and it's a black man narrating his feelings on why critical race theory needs to be stopped. It needs to be banned because it's making black people and making children more racist. Oh, I knew I should have recorded it or did something. All right. The Angel's Advocate sent me a text message that says, don't say it on air. I'm reading it. Oh, I'm not. Come on. Now I can't read that. Mr. Jordan says, I saw that critical race theory commercial, and like you, it upset me to my core. Can y'all find it? Rock says, I saw the ad and it made me sick. Of course, the child looked like she was mixed. Kind of. Jamila says, Sherwin, I saw that commercial and it made my skin crawl. Why can't we find it? They spent a lot of money to air that ad. You would think that they'd have it all over the internet. I checked the Google. Like, if this is the kind of stuff that would come up in my Google algorithm, I got nothing. Well, my work computer Google algorithm is probably more Dr. Ken than anybody else. So it didn't come up on my work computer. there was a reference to it on Twitter. There were a couple of people that said on Twitter, hey, did y'all see that anti-CRT commercial? But nothing. I thought there'd be a link to it or somebody will post it on Twitter. Don't worry, we're going to find it. Craig says, Sherwin, the vice president is human as well as all of the politicians that like to have a great time. She likes good music, too. I'm not trying to bash Kamala. You know, Kamala's our friend here. You know that. Kamala likes y'all. I don't know how she feel about me, but she likes y'all. She called us 2 times to tell y'all to vote for Mandela Barnes. Apparently you didn't listen, but I think that she needs to be like the person that is considered to be the next in line. Because don't we want a woman president that will protect a woman's right to choose? Don't we want, I guess I'm going to call her a woman of color. I don't really know where to place her racially. Her daddy was Jamaican, her mama is Indian, so I don't really know. Like, I feel kind of left out in Kamala Harris's genetics, but okay, that's fine. Isn't she like who we want? She's younger, right? She's probably in her 50s. Now, she has a bit of a checkered political history. That's fine. She did what she had to do to rise to power. I get it. Everybody has a different pathway to achieve their levels of success, but she did it. It worked for her. She's the vice president of the United States. And Joe Biden is not a young man. Joe Biden falls all the time. I'm very worried about Joe Biden. Whenever I hear him speak, I get nervous because I figure he's going to say something or he's going to like drift off into like a fantasy and just tell a story about somebody named Corn Pop. I get very worried because we are judging his every single word, trying to gauge his mental fitness. People that are gauging Joe Biden's mental fitness a lot of times are not mentally fit themselves. So that's creating a problem. They're actually about to draw up articles of impeachment on Joe Biden. Do they have any evidence that he was heavily involved in whatever Hunter Biden did and whatever money and contracts that Hunter Biden got with Burisma? I don't know. But if they're drawing up articles of impeachment over Joe Biden, that will be just enough distraction to where the Biden administration and the Biden campaign cannot focus on his record. So here's 2 things that's going to stick in your mind. It's not going to be that inflation is reduced, that there's been some limited student loan forgiveness, that insulin has been capped at $35, that we now are entering into a different contract with these pharmaceutical companies where Medicare and Medicaid to negotiate for cheaper prescription drugs. Like, this is all major monumental stuff that Joe Biden did while he was falling, apparently. He got a lot of stuff done. But if he's old, which he is, because that's an unchanged fact, and 70% of Americans want someone who is younger, like they want someone who is younger to run right now, not in 2028. They want somebody now. The overwhelming majority of the voting population don't want Joe Biden regardless of his accomplishments. So you have his age, right, which is a negative factor. And you also have they're drawing up articles of impeachment. And they're threatening to shut down the government unless Kevin McCarthy moves forward with impeaching Joe Biden. Now, remember, you're only fighting for 42,000 votes here. We're not in the days of landslide presidential elections. And so if 42,000 people that voted for Joe Biden in Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia decide to not vote for Trump, or vote for a credible third-party candidate, Trump will get reelected. And we're going to nominate Trump in the city of Milwaukee. So cities where these dubious distinctions forever. If you talk to somebody from Dallas who's lived their entire life in Dallas, they cannot shake the stigma that they're the city that killed Kennedy. Even though it wasn't somebody from Dallas, it was Lee Harvey Oswald, it happened in their city. And that's something they're very ashamed of. Talk to somebody from Memphis, a Memphian, long-term, old-school Memphian. They love their city. They got a lot of pride. A lot of good things come out of Memphis. Beale Street, blues, B.B. King, all sorts of things. I think B.B. King might have been from Mississippi, but he's got a blues club there. Whatever. Memphis is the city that killed Dr. King. The city of Milwaukee will be known as a city that killed democracy if we nominate Donald Trump at the convention here next year. I'm saying this for history because I know that is how they are going to look at us, especially if Donald Trump wins, because they're going to analyze, well, how did he win again? Well, they were real excited to have the Republican convention in the city of Milwaukee. So Milwaukee, it's going to be our fault. Take a break, come back, and talk about how the USA Patriot Act actually is a piece of legislation that is, in fact, designed to keep Americans safe from terrorism, but it also allows the federal government to surveil its own people because we, American citizens, are the biggest threat to national security. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. This is your Versity Blood Center of Wisconsin Community Impact Moment on 1017 The Truth.
And what are some of the ways that you're inspiring people? Because, you know, one of the biggest opportunities, in particular in the African-American community, is access, exposure, and awareness.
For Versity Blood Center of Wisconsin, we've been here 76 years.
Wow.
And our mantra is saving the lives you love. So if someone you love needs a blood transfusion and they're in any hospital in Southeast Wisconsin here, that blood's coming from us. And so we're trying to make sure that we're communicating that because I think folks maybe don't understand that blood can't be manufactured. And summers are always tough because schools are out and we collect about 20 to 25% of our blood from schools. Mm-hmm. So it's always a day-to-day struggle. We say that the blood that's on the shelves is the blood that saves lives. And a lot of times people are compelled to donate when something bad happens. And our mission and our job is to educate folks so that we can get ahead of the curve and keep 3 days of inventory on the shelves. Mm-hmm. So we're in a decent spot right now, but we're on the streets every day trying to inspire people to join our mission. One of our big projects that we're proud of is Versity on King, which is part of the Thrive on collaboration in the Gimbel Schuster building on Martin Luther King Drive. And next year, we're going to open a destination center there. It'll be a blood donation center, but it'll be more than that because we've realized that we can't be transactional with our relationships in the Black community. We need to do things that are intentional and that show that we're there to stay. But the reason that we're there is because not enough people that look like us donate. And so for disorders like sickle cell disease that disproportionately affect us, the race can matter. And I like to say that, you know, Black folks have a superpower in their blood. 44% of Black blood donors will have this rare trait that makes their blood more likely to be able to be a match for a sickle cell patient. And that 44% like that is way higher than what we would find in other races.
To make an impact by donating blood in your community, visit versity.org today.
Are you a mom, grandparent, caretaker, or pregnant and postpartum woman who cares for a 5-year-old or younger? If yes, then you should be enrolled in WIC. WIC is a Women, Infants, and Children program and provides healthy foods, nutrition education, breastfeeding counseling, and support. Participation in WIC is associated with better nutrition for families, but also healthier births and lower infant mortality. Hunger Task Force is here to support eligible pregnant and postpartum women, grandparents, and caretakers who care for children. Learn more about WIC and how you can support nutritious foods for infants and children at www.hungertaskforce.org.
To the best crew in baseball, this is for you. Join Brewers Fan Appreciation Weekend September 15th through the 17th. As a special thank you, enjoy buy one, get one beer on Friday the 15th. Gate giveaways all weekend, including 2024 Brewers ticket vouchers and a Fan Appreciation Night William Contreras bobblehead giveaway on Saturday the 16th. Grab your seats at brewers.com/fan appreciation.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Much of the bulletin that James Comey released, this is in 2016, was redacted, but in it, the FBI identified white supremacists in law enforcement as a concern because of their access to both restricted areas vulnerable to sabotage and elected officials or people who could be seen as potential targets for violence. Haven't we seen an uptick of violent threats against elected officials? Nancy Pelosi's husband was brutally attacked. Steve Scalise, a rep from Louisiana, was shot. A number of people have been arrested making threats to Nancy Pelosi. Eric Holder, there was one guy who had a van, had a whole bunch of weapons in his van. He was threatening a bunch of Democrats. Haven't we seen this in modern day America? So this bulletin goes back to 2006, where the FBI is like, yep, white nationalists infiltrating law enforcement and targeting political figures is a major issue when it comes to national security. The memo also warned of these things called ghost skins, hate group members who don't overtly display their beliefs in order to, quote, blend into society and covertly advance white supremacist causes. At least one white supremacist group has reportedly encouraged ghost skins to seek positions in law enforcement for the capability of alerting skinhead crews of pending investigative actions against them, the report read. Problems with white supremacists in law enforcement have surfaced since this report in the year 2014. 2 Florida officers, including a deputy police chief, were fired after an FBI informant outed them as members of the KKK. It marked the second time within 5 years that the agency uncovered an officer's membership in the KKK. Several agencies nationwide have also launched investigations into personnel who may not be formal hate group members but face allegations of race-based misconduct. So I'm saying all that to say this. The biggest threat to America and to its people, to its citizens and even non-citizens, the biggest threat to our elections and the biggest threat to our democracy are these people. So if we are the biggest threat, when you have the Patriot Act that is designed and created to surveil those who are the biggest threat to national security, ladies and gentlemen, the Patriot Act is designed to surveil us. We are our biggest threat. Got some information in that regard I'd like to share, but first let's talk to John. You're on 101.7 The Truth. How are you?
I'm fine this morning. I had a conversation with Dr. Harris, I think Friday, about Pelosi and Biden. And I had to, he thinks they should not run again because they're old. The only way you get as smart as you can be, you get wisdom, is by becoming old but developing your intellect along the way. They have done that politically. They're invaluable. I'm going through something at work right now where they don't respect the fact that I've been on doing the same job for 15 years, and they just came, and young people just come through the door, and it's slightly disrespectful not to recognize that I've been around here. I've done that. But as far as as black people being a threat is concerned, I'm reading a book now called Black Genesis. It talks about the Egyptians, or Egypt, and the people long before the pyramids, long before the pharaohs, that were geniuses. They were us. They were black. Now today, if you Google blacks in Egypt, they're a minority. Everybody's taken over. The Greeks and the Arabs and Muslims have all taken over Egypt. But they believe that the black people that were original there were dispersed intentionally. When they were taking over Egypt, they were forced out into other parts of Africa. I think what I'm saying, we're capable of a genius that white people are more aware of than we are. I was at an event, what was the name of it? About a week ago. It was on a Saturday, and it was the Black Child Development Institute. All these mostly women, over on Bradley, it was a book event for kids going back to school. There's a genius in us that they don't have, that came from not first for being the first human beings on the planet and using the stars in really deep ways that I can't even explain to you, to develop that genius. I believe it's in these kids today. I believe it's in black kids today. This Black Development Institute was very interesting. And black kids, if you pay attention to them, like on the weekends when they're out with their parents, they're more alert than other children, especially white children. They're more alert at an earlier age, and they are friendlier. They're almost too friendly. This is how we naturally are as people. We need to pay more attention to that. Okay, I'm gone. Catch you later.
Thanks, John. Appreciate your call. Just so y'all know, John is 87 years old. And as recently as last year, he thought about running for alderman of the 9th District. He's 87 years old. So we have to judge people based upon their individual skills and mental fitness. What we can't do is just say, oh, somebody is X amount of years old. They're just too old. Well, there's some people that are 41 that have no mental fitness to do anything. But because they're younger, we say, oh, well, that person should run for office because they're 41. Do y'all know how many just not very well-equipped people there are of all ages? And there are some people of certain ages that are very well-equipped. Now, Joe Biden is slowing down a little bit. Let's just admit that he's a little clumsier. He falls all the time. I mean, his lights are on. Sometimes it looks like nobody is home. But the institutional knowledge that he has about the workings of the federal government is really, it's unsurpassed. But here's the issue that I think that we're going to have. And I got to really take an inventory of how far I want to go to promote his reelection in the face of people that are going to tell me they're just not going to vote for him no matter what. We vote for the person. We don't vote for their knowledge. We don't vote for what they can do to further positive causes in this country. We don't vote for, the path and the plan their administration has laid down for future administrations to follow. We vote based upon, do I like the person or not? And that's just bad politics. It really is. Because in the grand scheme of things, we shouldn't care who any of you like. Because a bunch of y'all like people that are terrible people right now. And so you're going to base your voting behavior off of who you like or not? That's just, it's too subjective for me. Because people can like weird stuff about people. Some people like Donald Trump because he's under federal indictment. That's why they like him. Oh, Donald Trump gets in trouble with the police. So do I. I sure like him. What? Don't make no sense to me. What is the USA Patriot Act? Now, remember the Patriot Act is that piece of legislation that was signed by Congress, passed by Congress, signed by President George W. Bush in the wake of the September 11th terror attacks. Just a month and a half after the September 11th attacks, a panicked Congress passed the USA Patriot Act, an overnight revision to the nation's surveillance laws that vastly expanded the government's authority to spy on its own citizens while simultaneously reducing checks and balances on those powers like judicial oversight, public accountability, and the ability to challenge government searches in court. The reason why this piece of legislation is so monumental is because Americans are the biggest threat to other Americans. You guys remember what happened on January 6th? And I'm going to use that as a perfect example. Those were Americans that did that. Now, here's the other part that they're not telling you. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. You know that there were anti-Americans in that crowd of the thousands of people that stormed the U.S. Capitol that were going through government officials' offices, stealing their computers, going through their personal effects, stealing their electronic correspondences. You know, they had to go through every single electrical outlet in the entire U.S. Capitol. And I can't imagine how many thousands of electrical outlets there are because they can install these devices. They can monitor all sorts of electronic communication. There's spies in this country. Let's admit that. Of the 350 million people, there are literally people in this country who do work for foreign governments and they're getting paid to spy and to get military secrets from the United States. In fact, a dude from Wisconsin just got arrested like a couple weeks ago, spying for the Chinese. So they're all up in this country and they look like you and me. In fact, there's probably some people that look just like me that are incredibly disloyal to the United States, that hate America, America's racist and America's capitalist, that a Chinese nationalist will say, hey, American black person that hates America because America's racist, I'll give you $100,000 if you go to the place you work at and just steal a bunch of documents and papers. And that person will be like, cool, I'll do it. Pay me in Bitcoin. So just keep this in mind. Like there are, and that's not a far-fetched conspiracy. There are people in this country who are working against American national interests, okay? Some of those people had unfettered access to the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. So, yes, of course, that was mostly Americans that were there, but there were a handful of people that also put on a Trump hat, pretended that they were a protester. They blended in very, very well, but they were there working on behalf of foreign governments because they never would have that kind of unfettered access to the U.S. Capitol, let alone the Speaker's office, let alone other members of Congress's offices. And so we are going to suffer disproportionately still and into the future because of the information that was likely stolen that day on January 6th, because the Capitol was open to anybody. Anybody could have walked up in there that day. Now, thankfully, there's been about 1,100 arrests and or indictments, but that's still not nearly enough. 6 weeks after the September 11th attacks, a panicked Congress passed the USA Patriot Act, an overnight revision to the nation's surveillance laws that vastly expanded the government's authority to spy on its own citizens while simultaneously reducing checks and balances on those powers like judicial oversight, public accountability, and the ability to challenge government searches in court. Most of the changes to surveillance law made by the Patriot Act were part of a long-standing law enforcement wish list that had been previously rejected by Congress and in some cases repeatedly rejected. Congress reversed course because it was bullied into it by the Bush administration in the frightening weeks after the September 11th attacks. So when you think about a whole bunch of things that law enforcement wanted to do to spy on us because we and other Americans are the biggest threat to national security, but they abutted our rights to privacy as Americans. Like they came into conflict with the U.S. Constitution. But if you have this major event, this calamity, this tragedy, this act of terror on American soil, then at that point, not just Congress, but the American people are like, do whatever you have to do to protect us. Now, he was a slave owner, but he also was far ahead of his time in a whole bunch of other respects. Thomas Jefferson said, if you sacrifice your freedom for security, you deserve neither. That is precisely what is happening right now. Take a break and come back shortly. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back in a minute.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. Coming with straight truth.
Because they thriving off of the lack of knowledge. But it's a new day. And a lot of y'all don't understand that a lot of things that we understand to be true was socially engineered. Somebody sat back in a room and was like, hey, what if we get them to do this? You know what I mean? And they had a lot of money. All I'm saying is they want us to stay bots.
Catch the Tory Lowe Show every weekday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
At Associated Bank, they know opportunity can't wait. If you're a female or minority small business owner, their community uplift loans could be for you. Loans range from $5,000 to $50,000. Get funds in as little as one business day. Talk to a relationship manager today about a community uplift loan and other business banking services. Call 800-270-7725. Visit AssociatedBank.com or stop by your local branch. Because you help build the Midwest and your neighborhoods, they got your back. Associated Bank, your money works here. Subject to credit approval, member FDIC, equal opportunity lender.
It's time for Truth Takes, a thought-provoking commentary on the new 1017 The Truth. Here is Dr. Ken Harris with his truth.
I'm tired. I'm tired of watching this city fall apart and have leaders who will not say why. What is the issue with saying what the issue is? I have 5 things that need to be addressed in the black community to mitigate, to stop crime, period. Hands down, full stop. Number 1, when your kid does something wrong, they need to be held accountable. If it's a smack on the wrist for something they did that was little, that's fine. Otherwise, they need to be held accountable. Number 2, parents, you need to take care of and raise your kids. It is not the job of the police, the fire department, the school, or anybody else to raise the kid that you decided to have. It's on you. For those kids that have now come into adulthood, go to college for at least an associate's degree in a trade. That way you can either start your own business or get a good job. Number 2, when you graduate from high school with at least a 2.5 grade point average or higher. And then finally, probably the number one thing that everybody needs to think about, and whether you agree with it or not is irrelevant, it's my truth take. If you disagree, God bless you. But the bottom line is, wait to get married before you have children. Why? Because the responsibility of raising them is on you.
This has been Truth Takes on the new 1017 The Truth. Listen to The Truth in the Afternoon with Dr. Ken Harris, weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Contracting, local business located at 57th North Avenue. Contact them for your free estimates. In fact, right now they're doing storm damage inspections in the area. The team comes out to your house, checks the exterior of your property for damage related to any recent storms or past storms. Damage may be covered by your insurance. The team will also point out maintenance issues that could cause problems in the future for you. This is on your main residence or even on your rental property. Excel also provides remodeling, property management, and cleaning services. So call Al Cole at 877-277-6817. That's 877-277-6817. Or visit their website at excelprop.com. The Senate version of the Patriot Act, which closely resembled the legislation requested by then Attorney General John Ashcroft, was sent straight to the floor with no discussion, no debate, and no hearings. Many U.S. senators complained that they had little chance to even read it, much less analyze it before having to vote on the Patriot Act. In the House of Representatives, hearings were held, and a carefully constructed compromise bill emerged from the Judiciary Committee. But then, with no debate or consultation with rank-and-file members, the House leadership threw out the compromise bill and replaced it with legislation that mirrored the Senate version. Neither discussion nor amendments were allowed. And once again, members barely had time to read the thick bill before they were forced to cast an up or down vote on it. The Bush administration implied that members who voted against it would be blamed for any future terrorist attacks. A powerful threat at the time when the nation was experiencing a second attack to come at any moment, and when reports of new anthrax letters were appearing daily. Like, all this stuff sounds contrived to me to get members of Congress to just vote in support of unprecedented surveillance on the American people. Congress and the administration acted without any careful or systematic effort to determine whether weaknesses in our surveillance laws had contributed to the attacks or whether the changes they were making would help prevent further attacks. Indeed, many of the Patriot Act's provisions have nothing to do with terrorism. The Patriot Act increases the government's power to spy on American citizens in 4 areas. The Patriot Act increases the government's surveillance powers in these areas. 1, record searches. It expands the government's ability to look at records on an individual's activities being held by third parties. Your internet usage. Secret searches. It expands the government's ability to search private property without notice of the owner. Number 3, intelligence searches. It expands the narrow exception to the Fourth Amendment that had been created for the collection of foreign intelligence information. Now that can be used against Americans. And number 4, trap and trace searches. It expands another Fourth Amendment exception for spying that collects, quote, addressing information about the origin and destination of communications as opposed to the content. Expanded access to personal records held by third parties. One of the most significant provisions to the Patriot Act makes it far easier for the authorities to gain access to citizens' records of activities being held by a third party. At a time when computerization is leading to the creation of more and more such records, Section 215 of the Patriot Act allows the FBI to force anyone at all, including doctors, libraries, bookstores, universities, and internet service providers to turn over records of their clients and their customers. The result is unchecked government power to rifle through individuals' financial records, medical histories, internet usage, bookstore purchases, library usage, travel patterns, or any other activity that leaves any kind of record, making matters worse. The government no longer has to show evidence that the subjects of search orders are an agent of a foreign power. That's the most important part. Like, this is designed to surveil us. So, you know, when you use the internet and you get a terms of service agreement when you download a new app that you never read, or these things called cookies where you now have to accept or decline the cookies, all of that collects detailed information on you, where you go, what you do, where you're signed in at, your IP address, all of the things. And the federal government has unfettered access to all of it, all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, through the Patriot Act. And we don't even talk about this anymore. You also got to keep this in mind, y'all. Where we were with computer technology and the internet, like, there was no smartphones in 2001. First smartphones were, if I had to guess, I don't know, 2006, 7. When did the iPhone come out? Not that I care, because iPhones are for children, but phones weren't really all that intelligent yet. So what this Patriot Act did, that was passed under duress because the Bush administration was going to threaten all members of Congress who voted against this and put it on them if we had an additional terrorist attack. And then, of course, you had all the people receiving anthrax in the mail. I just thought that was a little bit far-fetched. But where we are in computer technology, internet technology, right now compared to where we were in 2001, we are leaps and bounds far beyond where we were 22 years ago. But here's the other thing you got to keep in mind. I want you to know that all the information has been collected on all of us because we use the internet with reckless abandon. We do. We don't care. We post, we share, we sign up for different websites and different apps. We do all sorts of things. We email stuff. Now I take all of that information they've collected on us over the last 22 years and then give it to AI. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back for hour 3.
The 1017 The Truth Street Team, sponsored by UW Credit Union, is coming to an event near you. Join us this Wednesday as Dr. Ken Harris will be broadcasting live from the Milwaukee Night Market located right in the front of the 3rd Street Market Hall. Come watch Dr. Ken do his thing live from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. as we celebrate the final Milwaukee Night Market of the summer. The 1017 The Truth Street Team is sponsored by UW Credit Union. They are here for every you.
Tap into the best power hour in radio in Milwaukee.
Know yourself. Yeah, he says know thyself. But yeah, tomato, tomato. It's giving potato, potato.
Yeah.
But I like that you said that.
Nelly Furtado.
Did you say Nelly Furtado? All right. I'm going to move past that.
Tomato, tomato.
Potato, potato. Nelly Furtado.
Yeah, my life.
Okay, I kind of like that. I'm done.
Go ahead, Mel.
I know, Ben.
My
Stop.
bad.
It's okay.
Listen to Nothing But the Truth with Melanie Ricks, weekdays from noon to 1 on the award-winning 1017 The Truth.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking?
Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Skilled trade workers are the backbone of every community and also the Army National Guard. Soldiers trained to keep the power flowing, engines running, and in every other trade needed to accomplish the mission. These soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Good Karma Brands is proud to be an equal opportunity employer. Our policy is to provide equal opportunity employment, development, and advancement to all current and potential teammates. If you are an organization that maintains a job bank, provides employment information, or gives job referrals, you may request to be placed on the station's mailing list for future career opportunities. To learn more about careers at Good Karma Brands, please email careers@goodkarmabrands.com.
You're listening to the new 1017 The Truth, founded in partnership with Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. 1017 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station. This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Sherwin. Welcome to Hour 3 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. All right. If Trump picked up the right mix of 42,921 votes in Arizona, where he lost by 10,457 votes, Georgia, we know that number, Trump lost by 11,779 votes. That's why he was caught on a recording asking to find 11,780 votes. That's one more than we have. And us here in Wisconsin, where Donald Trump lost by 20,682 votes, the Electoral College would have been tied at 269 all. The House would have then decided the election. Republicans will hold the majority of state delegations in that Congress, and they undoubtedly would have chosen Trump. If Trump also picked up one Electoral College vote in Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District, which he lost to Biden by 22,091 votes, he would have won the Electoral College outright. Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton needed to pick up the right mix of 78,000 votes in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin to win the Electoral College. So what we are dealing with is 42,921 votes, assuming that everything stays the same. Now, I don't know what independent voters are going to do. I don't know what non-politically affiliated voters are going to do. I don't know what voters who are disaffected by American politics now more than ever, the voters that think that Donald Trump is too old, they don't even care about his legal troubles, but they think he's too old. And they think Joe Biden is too old. So I just want you to think about the mix of people that exist that are very anti this whole political climate. They didn't see anything substantial change. Their lives didn't get better. They didn't get a raise. They didn't get a new job. They're trying to get a mortgage, but interest rates are still too high. You can talk about inflation coming down from where it was a year or more ago, but it's still very, very high. It's still better than 3%. Now, a year ago was probably 8%, 8.3, 8.5%. So it has come down, but it's still elevated, meaning our costs are higher. I just had to pay $228 to register my vehicle. I'm very upset. I don't like it, but I got to pay it. I got to pay whatever it costs to register the vehicle. So that's just to allow me to drive on Wisconsin's finely paved roads. I got to pay. What is it? 125, 175? I don't know what it is. It's too much. And then I got to pay a city of Milwaukee wheel tax, because if they can't raise other kinds of taxes without approvals from the state legislature or a referendum, they can tax my wheels. I wish I had a 3-wheel car. If Bob only got one good arm, why can't I have a 3-wheeled car? Just unplug my damn, so mad I unplugged my headphones. Hang on, y'all, chill out. Plug my headphones back in. And then here's the other one. So I drive a hybrid vehicle. I make no apologies for that. On a full charge, I have 40 miles of electric range. So assuming I don't drive more than 40 miles in a day, which, I don't know, 13 out of 14 days or 28 out of 30 days in a month, I do not drive more than 40 miles in a day. I don't use any gasoline. Now, of course, when the weather gets colder, I get a little bit less battery range, but I still stay within the confines of my electric range. I don't buy a lot of gasoline. In fact, I don't even know what gas costs. And guess what? I don't care. It doesn't affect me because there's such wide swings in gas prices between my fill-ups that it doesn't matter. And I got a 7-gallon tank. So even if gas is $5 a gallon, my fill-ups cost me $35 and they may last me for 3 or 4 months. So I don't care what gas costs, right? But because I don't buy a lot of gas, the state of Wisconsin is a hater. Here I am over here trying to save the baby seals and being an environmentalist climate change man because I don't want the climate to change, even though these summers have been very pleasant in the Midwest because of the global warming. I got to pay an additional $75 to make up for the fact that I don't buy as much gasoline as those of you that drive Cadillac Escalades and Chevrolet station wagons. So I got to pay a wheel tax because I live in Milwaukee and I have wheels. And I got to pay a hybrid surcharge because I don't buy a lot of gasoline because I'm not a sucker paying them gasoline taxes, and they tax you on every single gallon of gas that you buy. Cost me $228 to register my vehicle. Ooh, you're going to love this one. So I got my notice, and probably when they send you notice, about a month before your tabs expire. And what do? I put it on, I got a little pile. I got a get-to pile. So I put the little registration notice on my get-to pile because I'm going to get to it. Well, guess what? Your boy got busy over the past few weeks. I ain't get to it. So here's what I come to find out. So I got to get an emissions test, which is not that big of a deal. It's a little bit more challenging because of the kind of vehicle that I have. Like I have to intentionally turn on the gas engine for them to do the emissions test. It's a whole thing. And if I get a mechanic or a technician at the emissions test station that's not familiar with doing emissions testing on my particular vehicle, I got to walk them through it. It's like I'm doing my own damn emissions test. So it's not that big of a deal. But then because of the age of my license plates, they're sending me new license plates. Does it ever happen to y'all that if your license plates are a certain age, they just send you new ones? Well, apparently these license plates, well, I guess they are pretty old. Where did I get these plates? Like these plates I have been on like 4 different vehicles. I drove a Cadillac for 9 years. They was on my LAC. I had a Land Rover. I leased a Land Rover for like 4 years. They was on my Land Rover. What else was they on? My license plates are hoes. They've been all over the place. They've been on some everything. What's the problem, Rhea? What, I can't say a person is a hoe. My license plate can't be hoes either? They have. They've been around. They've traveled. So they're saying, okay, you got it. We're going to send you new license plates in like 4 to 6 weeks. So here's why I'm concerned, ladies and gentlemen. I have to drive around with my old license plates. And of course, with my new license plates, and I'm going to get in. I'm lucky if what month is this? This September? It's October. That's 4 weeks. November. So October, that's 4 weeks. Carry the one. So by the beginning of November, I'll probably have my new license plates. So between now and sometime in early November, maybe mid-November, I got to drive around with license plates that say September 2023. Now, the police can, I think when they read my license plates, they can see that I passed the emissions test. They can see that I paid my registration fee, but they still can pull me over, and I am concerned. Let me tell you why I'm concerned. Because number one, I didn't renew my license plates by September 1st, which I should have. I just forgot because I put the little notice in my I'm going to get to it pile, and apparently I didn't get to it. So they charged me another $10 for that. So it cost me all told $238. Plus there was an additional like $5 fee because I used a credit card. Because y'all know I don't use my debit card for anything. Very rarely do I use my debit card because if that information on your debit card gets compromised some kind of way, you lose that money. But if you have a credit card, you're not spending your money, so I'm not responsible for any fraud. And I just use my checking account to transfer money and to pay my bills on other accounts. You guys should do the same thing. Don't use your debit card like that, because that's direct, instant, linked access to your very precious checking and savings account. No. Keep your money in your checking and your savings account, and then use that money to electronically pay bills, but don't swipe that joker. Don't do that. No, that's what a credit card is for, especially if you use a cash back credit card. So my cash back amounts that I have on my credit card that I use for literally everything, unless I'm using cash, which is also very rare, is going to pay for everybody's Christmas present this year, just with the cash back, quite honestly, and then some. Sherwin might have a little go to Vegas and not tell nobody money with the cash back bonuses and rewards that I'm getting on my credit card. However, I digress. So I paid, all told, about $243 to register my vehicle for 1 year to drive on Wisconsin roads, and I'm going to be riding around with what appear to be expired plates until my new plates come. Now, here's the thing. In the event that I get pulled over, it's a very simple explanation, but that's not the point. I don't want to get pulled over for any reason, to have to explain. And then, of course, you got to run the risk of, oh, here, officer, let me show you my past emissions test, and let me show you my receipt for me paying my registration. I don't want to have to deal with that. I am very concerned. You know what I should do? I should call Tony Evers and complain. Ronnie says, a part of post-September 11th not publicly discussed, mail confiscated from Muslims or those suspected due to their names. After being ripped open, some were returned even months later, and some were not. I am not aware of that, Ronnie, but I'm not shocked one bit. As long as people are made aware, it doesn't mean y'all are going to do anything. It doesn't mean you're going to stop any of your behavior. But the Patriot Act, which was passed under duress by Congress, because after September 11th, we didn't know what to do. America does not get attacked on American soil. We take wars to other people's houses. We pull up on other countries and we fight there. We don't ever have conflict here. The conflict that we have here is mostly between Americans. But a foreign entity, a foreign agent coming to this nation and doing harm and killing thousands of people caused a panic unlike anything we had ever seen. The last time we had something even remotely close was when Pearl Harbor was attacked. And I don't even think Hawaii was a state yet. That was as close as any foreign country got to attacking American interests on American soil. But Hawaii wasn't a state until like the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. It was like a territory, just some islands that we stole from the native people, which par for the course. So if you look at all the information that they're able to collect on us, all of our data, that's collected by third parties. So a third party would be your cell phone provider, your internet service provider. It's why I also strongly encourage people to use a virtual private network. It is a way in which your internet broadcasting location can be hidden. So if somebody is looking to target you, it makes it almost impossible for them to do that. It's $3 a month. It's totally worth it because it gives you a little bit more browsing security. Talked about this on last week's show. That's why you should never, ever, ever, under any circumstance, connect your personal devices to your work Wi-Fi. In fact, I'm against connecting my cell phone to Wi-Fi anywhere, any public Wi-Fi. Yes, it makes things a little bit faster, but the privacy that you are giving up without a VPN is not worth it. You wonder why you get all these weird phone calls and you get all the spam emails? When you connect to a Wi-Fi publicly, they have your internet IP address. They can send you all sorts of stuff, and all that information can get breached and it can get compromised. But so my biggest concern is because we're trying to figure out exactly how bad is AI going to be. Artificial intelligence, and it's going to take a bunch of jobs, and it's going to mechanize a bunch of stuff. It's going to automate a bunch of stuff. And what they're going to show us with artificial intelligence is how useful it can be and how much more productive artificial intelligence can be. In the time that I experimented with ChatGPT. In fact, you know who put me on artificial intelligence, ChatGPT? Benjamin. Benjamin told me about a month ago. He had a whole business plan written by artificial intelligence, and it was really, really good. And so what I did, just one day, I was bored, messing around, testing the limits of what artificial intelligence is, not knowing how far I can go. I put in, hey, ChatGPT, or whatever my prompt was I used. put together topics for a 3-hour-long social interest, political talk radio show for a predominantly African-American artist. I hit the enter button, and it came up with an outline of a talk show that was more beautiful, well thought out, and more detailed. Like, I could have put something like that together, but it would have taken me several days, and it did it in probably 15 seconds. I didn't use any of it because I was scared. I thought, I was like, well, I'm just going to replace myself then. Because if you get something that can manufacture someone's human voice, and you have artificial intelligence come up with the topics and the ideas for the demographics of a particular talk radio show, y'all ain't gonna need me no more. But so now when you feed artificial intelligence information, it learns and it grows and it gets smarter. Think about all of the things that you have sent, received, looked up, Googled, ordered off of the internet since the Patriot Act has come to fruition. Think about that. Have you ever checked Google? You can see the detailed information that Google has on you. I did it a couple of years ago. It frightened me. It knew where I lived. It knew what I did for a living. It knew how much money I made. It knew what my hobbies were. It was frightening. And that was the information that Google was willing to share with me. You ever do a voice search? Does your phone have a voice search? Sometimes we don't want to type in what we're looking for and we just do a voice search. You know that Google keeps your voice searches? No. Not just what you search, ladies and gentlemen. It keeps the actual recording of your voice. How do I know? Because there's a website where you can hear yourself doing voice searches. Now, if you feed that into AI, now they got my voice. Now they actually have the digital algorithm to create my voice. And then you also can create what I do for a living. Ask ChatGPT to come up with a 3-hour-long talk radio program outline that caters to a middle-class African-American audience, et cetera, and there you go. You've just replaced Sherwin Hughes. So once you feed into artificial intelligence all the information that we have searched for and looked up on the internet in the past 22 years, we basically are replacing ourselves. Doesn't mean that we're going to stop doing anything, and just a bit of a warning for the future. You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. until 12 noon. Make sure you check out our streaming services. We're on the Spotifys and the iTunes. We even broadcast live on the Twitters and also on the YouTubes. So just follow us everywhere. And I guess we'll in turn follow you back on the internet. I'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
This is 101.7 The Truth's Tori Lowe, and I am Milwaukee. The Tori Lowe Show has become a resource for the community. I enjoy having open, on-air discussions about what we can do to regroup, rethink the black man, the black woman, and the black child. This show is about that action, and I want all the smoke. Join the home of Milwaukee's realest conversations where you can speak your truth. We are the new 101.7 The Truth, Milwaukee Black Talk.
Adrian was seriously injured when a careless driver merged into her lane.
Gruber was there for everything that I needed. Any questions that I had, Gruber was there. They made me feel like everything about my situation and my accident was very important to them, and that made me feel good. And I would definitely call Gruber again for that.
Serving Wisconsin for over 35 years, Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
They go above and beyond for their clients.
Making healthier food choices doesn't have to be hard or expensive. You can ensure your children and family get the nutrition they need by making every meal a My Plate meal. Choose healthy items like low-sodium vegetables, fruits canned in 100% juice, whole grains, lean proteins, and low-fat dairy. Also, buying in-season produce from your local farmer's market, using food share at your local grocery store, or use of the mobile market are all easy ways to save money on food. Make every meal a My Plate meal to make you and your family healthier. Learn more about healthy eating and how you can support nutritious foods for families at www.hungertaskforce.org/myplate.
On Diversity and Excellence powered by Erie Insurance, I am so excited to talk about the different ways that Erie Insurance can help with our community growth, can provide job opportunities from Erie Insurance Corporate, or with our local agency force. I'm really excited about the education of generational wealth in our Black and brown communities and how we are a part of the communities here locally. There's so much more we can be a part of. Listen to me, Fred Johnson, on Diversity and Excellence, powered by Erie Insurance.
This is 1017 The Truth's Sherwin Hughes, and I am Milwaukee. This show has meant so much to me because it's an opportunity for me to express my thoughts and my feelings to my community, and for my community to express those same thoughts and feelings right back to me. Milwaukee means a lot to me. I was born here, raised here, educated here, and I'm committed to making this a better city. Join the home of Milwaukee's realest conversations where you can speak your truth. We are the new 1017 The Truth. Milwaukee, Black Talk.
Here at the new 1017 The Truth, we aim to be a staple in Milwaukee's Black community. We are committed to partnering with local organizations and supporting Black-owned businesses. We are proud to call Milwaukee our city and promise to be a positive reflection of our community. We look forward to celebrating Black culture and excellence with you every day as we make history and continue to uplift the voices in our city. Join us for the journey at the new 1017 The Truth, founded by American Family Insurance. Milwaukee Black Talk.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
The Black-owned business Give Back is back. We have again teamed up with Associated Bank to help local Black businesses grow and succeed. That's why we're giving away $6,000 worth of free commercial advertising for 3 months to 5 Black businesses each quarter this year. To sign up for this incredible opportunity, all you got to do is go to blackbusinessgiveback.com. That is blackbusinessgiveback.com. We're going to rebuild our community's backbone through exposure on 1017 The Truth. For official contest rules, head to blackbusinessgiveback.com, Associated Bank, member FDIC. Y'all be surprised at how many people will be exposed to your business if you advertise across our lineup of shows. I got people from all over the place listening to my show, from everywhere, even in Georgia. A guy called in from Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. Say, oh, Sherwin, we just love Marjorie Taylor Greene down here in the 14th district of Georgia. Let's talk to Sandra. You're on the new 1017 The Truth. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you today?
I'm good.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm just listening to your program, and you're going through all the interesting things that's happening in the United States. And I called your show, I think it was last week, and I asked you, had you ever heard of a guy named Matthew Desmond?
And I told you I had not. You're reading his book.
No. I'm like I said, I have to. You know, before he was raising the kids and stuff, and so now that I see the world, I never pay attention because if you're out there enjoying, I don't say enjoying life, shopping and going to your little dancing and different little things we were doing. Now my husband was real active, and so one of us had to be home. And like I said, he marched for Ernest Lacey and all the marches. And so I felt, at least I had one body in the fight. But this book I was talking about, this guy, Desmond, last name Desmond, he goes through the issues of poverty in America and how it was fixed by design. And this is how he goes through all of these steps. And like the things they say is we should do it on our own. These are all the troll words they use. We should do it. And that means Black when they say we. We should do it on our own. We should pull ourselves up by the bootstrap. He goes through all of that and how all that was designed. And so, like I say, you have to, when you see, like I said, when you see a guy like Trump and you see America going to an authoritarian nation, and then you see AI coming out, and then you see this Edward Snowden was telling us about it. Now he can't come back. And you see all this going on, and then you see the robots that they're going to have, and then you know the camera's going to be everything you do. So it's always like it's we, the ones, Black people especially, the ones that's committing all the atrocities. And so the camera's going to be on us real much because you got a Central City all blooded out. And the powers that be know it's there, and they know how it's here, and they know how to get here. You got guns going all over the place. So now they set it up for us to kill each other. So definitely it's a division where they want to divide and conquer strategy. So they want us to fight each other. And then they got the cameras on us. So who's going to get locked up the most? It ain't going to be white folks. It's going to be the black people. And then we're plastered all over the media. The black did this, the black did that. And then they say like it's only like, I was looking at the document 13, and it says 5% of, people in America, 25% in prison. So now you got the main source in prison, black people. Now you got private prisons. Now you got these Alex and Federalist Society, all these people making the laws, the lawyers making laws, and they target us, black people, really hard. And so then they put us out there. But, these folks in the guns, like I said, they got bunkers they're building. They got, all these white women got purple-handled AKs and all that stuff, kissing them and stuff. So the women are in that with them. But my last thing I want to say, why is it that it's always us causing the problem when the elites are the one got the money, big corporations got the money, they offshored the job. They did all of this. And people were fighting when they brought in those foreign cars. We had union folks fighting. I was in the union. And we were fighting for that, to keep the jobs here. They did it all. So I think we got to stop blaming each other and put the blame where it really belongs.
Thank you, Sandra. That was very
That's what I wanted
insightful.
to say.
Appreciate your call.
Okay.
All right, Sandra.
Okay. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Well, of course it's the elites, but they're hard to fight. We would fight each other figuring out how to fight the people that have put America in the situation that it's in. So each other, like one another, we're easier to shoot because we're close. You can't shoot the elite people. You're going to shoot up in the sky. The whole point with all the surveillance is to create a profile on American citizens so we can predict who is and who isn't dangerous. And I don't know what kind of success that we have, but maybe when you feed all that information into an algorithm, artificial intelligence can create a much more accurate profile of who is and who is not dangerous. So if you know my internet activity for the past 20 years, you got my social security number, you know where I work, you know my address, and you have cameras everywhere. Or you go to the ATM, there's a camera. I'd imagine any business you go to has a camera. They can track you. Your cell phone is on. It's basically a tracking device. I'm sure a lot of your vehicles have GPS in your vehicle. That's cool. It helps you find out where you're going and all this other stuff. But it's also a way to track you. And they also have all these photographs of all the different digital surveillance that we have, whether it be red light cameras or at ATMs or at different businesses or in neighborhoods on people's houses, Ring cameras. As you know, a couple of years ago, the city of Milwaukee, the police department was giving out free doorbell cameras. And they would install them for you. They'd even pay for them for you, but you would have to give the police access to your doorbell camera, meaning they could see who's coming and going from your house. And some of y'all did that. So when you combine all of this data, and most of the data that they have on us, we're giving them. There's no anonymity on the internet. When you agree to the terms and service of those websites, of those apps, you are relinquishing everything. Now, I want you to also think about this for a second. Think about all the stuff you have in your phone. Think about all the private, detailed, identifying information you have in your phone, including your text messages. All of that is available to third parties, and the Patriot Act can require judges to allow law enforcement to have that information. And they've got our photographs, they've got our likeness, they have all that. They even have our voice patterns. When you do a Google voice search, they have everything. Oh, they have your medical records. And for those of you that do the worst thing you could ever do, for those of you that are concerned about privacy, you probably should leave the United States and get a new identity. Go to like Iceland or Switzerland, a place where they take privacy a little bit more serious. When you do the 23andMe, the Ancestry.com, the DNA test, now they have the literal genetic code to reproduce your whole body. Because they keep that information. Like they'll send you a little printout like, oh, you're from China and Africa and 2% Jewish and whatever it is. Y'all real fascinated by that. They keep your DNA. So I want you to just think about for a moment all of the ways in which they can create profiles on us. And we are doing a lot of that stuff just intentionally, right? When we sign up for these different apps. How about I do this? I'm going to take a break, come back. We'll talk to a couple of folks that are calling us at 833-212-1017, 833-212-1017. Also need to talk about, Bob actually referenced this earlier, that Joe Biden and Nikki Haley are actually tied in the polls right now. Now, of course, the election is not today, but if it was, Joe Biden would lose to Nikki Haley by 6 points. Now, imagine, if you will, as time goes on and Donald Trump's legal troubles start to resonate more and more with the American people, the Republican powers that be, they really want Joe Biden out of office, and they want a Republican in office that they could work with a lot better than Joe Biden. And if Nikki Haley is the only one on the current, list of Republican presidential hopefuls that can handily beat Joe Biden, I could see a scenario where they shift some of their support away from Trump and then into Nikki Haley. That would cause a problem, to say the least. So we'll talk about that and other things on the other side. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
At Associated Bank, they know opportunity can't wait. If you're a female or minority small business owner, their community uplift loans could be for you. Loans range from $5,000 to $50,000. Get funds in as little as one business day. Talk to a relationship manager today about a community uplift loan and other business banking services. Call 800-270-7725. Visit AssociatedBank.com or stop by your local branch. Because you help build the Midwest and your neighborhoods, they got your back. Associated Bank, your money works here. Subject to credit approval, member FDIC, equal opportunity lender.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer. Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
They are our cuddlers and coworkers, purr machines and love bugs, and constant companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life so much better. When we face unexpected challenges in life, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people who love their pets and the pets who love their people, ensuring these families stay exactly where they belong, together. And you have something to offer. With an open heart and mind, there is nothing you can't do. There's no gesture too small or too big when it comes to helping. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. You can help keep pets and people together. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Here at the new 101.7 The Truth, we count on the support of community partners. One of those local partners is Associated Bank. Together, we are committed to uplifting local organizations and supporting Black-owned businesses. We are proud to call Milwaukee home and promise to be a positive reflection on the community. We look forward to celebrating Black culture and excellence with you every day as we make history and continue to uplift the voices in our city. Join us for the journey at the new 101.7 The Truth, founded in partnership with Associated Bank, member FDIC.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
1017 The Truth's Sherwin Hughes for Axe Housing. You know, Axe Housing has helped over 3,000 families become homeowners. Many times your mortgage will be less than what you're paying for rent. In fact, it could be a lot less. In fact, if you work with Axe Housing, the average is about $800 a month. Axe Housing will have a coach that'll help you create a plan and a budget. They can even help you improve your credit and get you more money for down payment assistance. So if you're not dreaming of home ownership by now, you should be. You can get started on a virtual home buying orientation risk-free by going to the truth link at axhousing.org. That's ACTShousing.org. Don't let where you are financially today get in the way of your bright future becoming a homeowner. Axe coaches are here to help. That's axhousing.org. Okay, just a little bit more on the Patriot Act. Just a little bit more. A little bit. The government no longer has to show evidence that the subjects of the search orders are an agent of a foreign power, a requirement that previously protected Americans against abuse of this authority. The FBI does not even have to show reasonable suspicion that the records are related to criminal activity, much less the requirement for probable cause that is listed in the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. All the government needs to do is make a broad assertion that the request is related to an ongoing terrorism or foreign intelligence investigation. Judicial oversight of these new powers is essentially non-existent. The government must only certify to a judge with no need for evidence or proof that such a search meets the statute's broad criteria, and the judge does not even have the authority to reject the application. Surveillance orders can be based in part on a person's First Amendment activities, such as the books they read, the websites they visit, or a letter to the editor they have written to a local newspaper. A person or organization forced to turn over records is prohibited from disclosing the search to anyone. As a result of this gag order, the subjects of surveillance never even find out that their personal records have been examined by the government. That undercuts an important check and balance on this power, the availability of individuals to challenge illegitimate searches. And so this goes back to the year 2001, where we were not so connected and tied to so many online internet searches and applications and all that other stuff. Think about the sheer volume of data that we all have Googled or searched for, or all sorts of our online activity. All that's available to the government now, and the threshold for them to get it is incredibly low. Just going to warn you. Doesn't mean you're going to change anything. Let's talk to Rob. Thank you for holding. You're on 1017 The Truth. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
I got a question. With the Patriot Act, it is scary because what you're describing is they could basically build a case on anyone and label them a domestic terrorist. How would the average citizen go about combating that? Like, what steps would we take to? They got the information already, so I'm just curious to know what's your thoughts on how we would combat that.
You wouldn't.
Are.
That's the whole point of why they designed the law to be as sweeping as it is, especially when they prevent judges from having the latitude and authority to say, no, this is violating somebody's First or Fourth Amendment. That is a provision they made sure to have in the Patriot Act. So if you just accuse somebody of being involved in terrorist activities, judges are powerless to stop the collection of data. But here's the thing. The data used to be more analog, like they'd find out your library books you were checking out. Now they just have access to your internet searches and all of your emails and all your screenshots and all that other stuff. So we've actually made it easier for the Patriot Act to invade our privacy. And here's what's crazy. Nobody even talks about it. And it is a law that is on the books.
And this is our government. Like, this is the government supposedly there to protect, and serve the public.
But here's the other thing, though, Rob. You got to keep this in mind. Americans are the biggest threat to national security. So we have to spy on one another because we're the ones that are planning revolution or insurrection or politically motivated violence or racially motivated violence. So when you talk about terrorism, it's not Muslims, it's Christians. It's literally Americans on American soil that commit more acts of terrorism than all the other foreign nations combined.
Agreed. I couldn't I couldn't argue that point either way. I guess lastly, I'll just close with, for the listening audience, I would implore all of them within earshot to research fifth generation warfare.
I saw the little post you put in the Hughes Views group. I saw you get your little daily dose of conspiracy theory. I saw it.
But if they Google that, it'll answer a lot of questions about what's going on in America today, or should I say, pre-Nazi Germany today.
Oh,
thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate you. He's our resident conspiracy theorist. Let's talk to Al. You're on 101.7 The Truth. How are you?
I'm doing good. One of my other questions is, didn't the Bushes have a lot of connections with the Latins? See, I thought they was real cool together, because didn't some of the Latins invest in some of the Bush oil? And I know they said there was a lot of raised eyebrows because they said the Bushes was involved in heroin drug trafficking along with other things. But I know, they ain't really talked about, and they kept that stuff on the hush-hush. So I wanted to bring that to light. Then also I want to bring to light, I know we, have certain issues, but it's not always on us as black people. They set things up so black people can go against each other because they know we as black folks. Some black folks can be very, I want to say, naive, because, see, if you create chaos within blacks to go against one another, that is a strength and power they don't have to worry about going against them. Because keep in mind, even though black people built the United States, black people know how to get it done. So they have to create it. They have to create something for black people to go against one another. So, I always like to put that out there. I don't trust AI. I don't trust none of that stuff. But if we as black people change this, I don't know where we get all this from. We always gonna be defeated. We got to get rid of that. And then other thing, with the Ukraine, y'all have to understand, they always going to help people who got the same skin color and the hair. Because, if the Ukrainians were black, they wouldn't send nothing over there. So you always know if they look like one of them, they're always going to help them out. So it goes back to the skin color and hair. And if you feel, I don't know, talk to your great-grandmama and your grandmama about the skin color and hair. She going to tell you everything you need to know that your pastor won't tell you, or your mother is afraid to tell you. So I wanted to put that out there. And if, we really wanted to change all the things that's going on, only thing black people got to do is stop going against one another, and you figure out the way that you can drink the blood from the snake and get the brains of the monkey. And the reason is, don't nobody black want to do it because they've been so gaslighted and trained. But once black people stop worrying about what white people think, and they stop worrying about what Jesus think, it's a whole lot of stuff we can conquer. But y'all got to hit the reset button first. And I'm going to leave it at that. Don't worry about the delivery. Just deliver it, because when they ready to tell you where you need to go, they don't care what you think. They deliver it. It's only black people who walk on eggshells. Happy Monday.
Thanks, Al. I don't want to drink no snake blood and get the monkey brains. I don't want that. So is there any other way that we can come together with? He always has to throw some anti-Jesus in there, doesn't he? Ask your grandmama and your grandpappy, and then don't forget about Jesus. The Town, you're on 101.7 The Truth. How are you?
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Hey, what the last caller said, I got to say it's spot on, because check this out. They spending all that money in Ukraine, and it's okay. Let's just say that what they're doing is just with them, though. But then what about the people up there in the Congo? You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of social media posts about that. I don't know if that's in your algorithm or not, about how the people in the Congo, they fighting over the precious metals over there, and then Russia is in there too. You know what I'm saying? By way of the Wagner Group, that's supposed to be, I guess, an offshoot of military. Or
Oh, there's a
whatnot
number of
goes around the
coups
world.
going on in Africa right now. You are absolutely correct.
Yeah, and ain't nothing from the administration about that. Like what is we doing? It's crazy, and it's like how you said about what you. I'm gonna talk about when you talk about conspiracy theories. Like, okay, you ain't gonna believe none of the conspiracy theories in this nation where it's full of groups or organizations all aligned for a common cause that's working together. Some of these conspiracy theories, it has to be some truth to them, but often so that when the general public try to do their knowledge or try to do their due diligence, and it's often from people from the media, they often poo-poo it. You don't know what you're talking about, or you haven't been to school, or you're less learned, or whatever like that. You know what I'm saying? It's very condescending, because as you can see, how it's going on right now, it's a fight for power. It's a fight for power. You just said the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act makes it so where, you know what I'm saying, you can trample on people's rights, and it's all good. So the powers that be, the powers that's fighting over that, they want that power. So
yeah, but that's not a conspiracy, because at the end of the day, right, ultimately, the people that are here to undermine the American people, those that have sinister intentions, they want to keep us divided, they want to keep, poor people poor and rich people rich, they're never going to tell us what they are doing. So what we do is we just make stuff up. So in my opinion, conspiracy theories don't exist because they're not going to give common folks any clues, any insight, any data, any information on what they're doing. The whole point of a conspiracy is that it is a secret. There's a whole bunch of stuff the United States government is involved in, and all we can do is make up a bunch of stuff based upon whatever evidence we think we see. But we're never going to know, and that's the thing. We have no idea, so all we do is we just make up weird fallacies. And a lot of it is based on paranoia. But at the end of the day, we'll never know what they're doing. We're never going to have more information than them. They are 50 or 100 years ahead of us. So for us to think that we know what's really going on in these deep, dark corners of the globe, that's the real conspiracy theory. They're never going to give us information so that we can overthrow them. And I got to take a break.
I think. All right, man. Be cool.
All right, you be cool too. People get so disappointed when I got to take a break. Oh, thought I could talk forever. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I don't want to say the flu is preventable, but we can make it less severe and spend less time in the hospital as an underinsured group that's on intimate terms with death, that we don't exercise, we don't eat healthy. Now, of course, this isn't everybody, but it still impacts us more than anybody else. And so I can talk about racism. I think that we have some choices that we can make that we know can improve our outcomes, but we still seem to be so incredibly defiant.
Listen to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, weekdays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's time for Truth Takes, a thought-provoking commentary on the new 1017 The Truth. Here is Denise Thomas with her truth.
Over the past 2 years, I've been very intentional about self-care, including clinical therapy. And one of the many lessons that I've learned includes the biggest one that I've applied, and that is letting go. Oftentimes, we feel as though that we have to hold on to certain relationships, whether it's professional or personal, because we feel a sense of obligation. However, within that relationship, you're always feeling as though it's difficult to love you. You're a bad person. You're not good. Combined with what we're hearing and reading on social media and other news platforms. I want to remind you, as I've learned and gained through therapy, that in any relationship that you're in, it should be elevating your happiness. It should be elevating your joy. It should be providing you prosperity and peace. Don't get me wrong. In any relationship, there's misunderstandings, there's miscommunications, and that's where, as human beings, we allow the relationship to be bigger than that particular incident and say, you know what? when you said this or when you did this, it made me feel this. I may be totally misinterpreting it, but I just wanted you to understand how it made me feel. And in those situations where the continuous behavior makes you feel as though, again, that you're bad or that you're not good, or it's just always exhausting to be in that relationship, let it go. And you can release with love. You can let that person know we're no longer compatible. This does not feel good. I release you, and I release you with love. Let everything that is not bringing you value go so you can be around people, places, and things that bring out the best in you. You deserve it.
This has been Truth Takes on the new 1017 The Truth. Listen to The Truth Be Told with DT and Telly weekdays from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m.
When you're high, you feel different. Pretty obvious, right? You think different, talk different, but if you feel different, you drive different. So if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Starlight Children's Foundation brightens the lives of sick kids like my son Finn, who was born with congenital heart disease. Learn more about Starlight by visiting starlight.org today.
Wisconsin's own Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Still can't find any record of that anti-CRT television ad that ran yesterday during the Packers-Bears games. An African-American man and somebody who texted in who saw the commercial looks like his child that is with him in the commercial looks biracial. And it's a black man who was railing against the teaching of critical race theory. They even show a couple of exaggerated clips of a African-American teacher presiding over her classroom full of black children, pledging allegiance to black America. And they're saying, no, critical race theory makes black people more racist, and that you shouldn't be indoctrinating children with critical race theory because children don't see color. Oh, yes, they do. There's an experiment that was done. It's been replicated. I can't tell you how many times, but they're trying to identify when children begin to form racial identities. Some of you are very familiar with this study. It's all over the place. I've seen it a million times. You have a little 3-year-old, 4-year-old, little 5-year-old child, and you put a black doll in front of the child, and the children are black and white, and you have a little black baby doll, and you have a little white baby doll. And you ask each child, who you would think wouldn't have a racial identity formed yet, which doll is the good doll? It's always the white one. Which doll is the bad doll? It's always a black one. Which doll does very good in school? They point to the white one. Which doll does bad in school? Which doll is naughty? And it goes on and on and on. And every negative stereotype you can think about African Americans, both the white children and the black children, always point to the black doll. And so thinking that children don't see race and see color is incredibly ignorant, because children absorb everything in their surroundings. They absorb music you play for them. They absorb their parents' conversations. They absorb media just like we do. Now, they don't have the skill set to apply necessarily what they are absorbing to their life, but they will. And so just because we have so much, racial tension everywhere in American society, even young children pick up on it. Read a couple of text messages here. So Donna was asking, what's the name of the website that records your voice search? So it's just Google. Google is incredibly transparent about all the information they steal from us. That is one thing I will credit Google for. They're like, hey, we're going to keep everything on you forever, but here's all the stuff we have. Like, we're going to show you what we're keeping from you. I don't know what that website is. I probably could find it. But Google has a profile on you that they created based upon how you use their services, how you use the search engine, and how you use Gmail. You ever notice how Google is so incredibly integrated? So if I sign into my Gmail account on my phone, it gives me everything. It gives me all my emails and all my websites. If I want to go back and look at another website, it's all there. And then if I sign into that same Gmail account on my work computer here, that is how I get all the websites from, my preparation to my work computer right here. It literally integrates everything. It's very convenient. So a long time ago, I used to use AOL mail. Remember AOL? Nobody use that no more. And then you had Hotmail. Remember the Hotmail? At hotmail.com, at msn.com. Remember that? What's another one? Oh, I had a Yahoo mail. Sherwin at yahoo.com had that. And then after all of those faded away, it's Gmail, because Gmail integrates everything, and that makes it easier for them to collect data and to surveil us, but they have to provide us some level of convenience for the thievery that they are. But it's not thievery, because we're all signing up for the services, though. We're signing up for the convenience, but there's a cost. You ever wonder why all this stuff is free? You ever wonder, even though y'all post this stuff every now and again, if you don't share this message, Facebook is going to cost $5 a month or $20 a month. So if you share this message, that's a hoax. Facebook is a multi-billion-dollar company for free. You ever think about that for a second, how a company that doesn't charge you anything is valued at tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars? Because the information that we share has real retail value. They are selling what we're willingly sharing. Don't worry about it. That's actually their name saved in our address book. Says, with the Ring camera thing you just mentioned, it reminds me of They Cloned Tyrone on Netflix. Ooh, you guys got to watch that movie. Go watch They Cloned Tyrone. That's a good one. LT says, and who does Sandra blame for the videos of all the black people ransacking stores in California? And if you don't want to be on TV committing crimes, then don't commit crimes. Well, you know, in California, they changed the law to where shoplifting under a certain dollar amount is not, like, it's not illegal. I shouldn't say it's not illegal. It's like a ticket. It's just like, I hate to laugh, but there's no like real major criminal prosecutions if you shoplift. And so that's why you're seeing people ransacking these stores. I mean, it's in Chicago too, but that's a local issue. Ronnie says, and if anything, I would say that's an active revolution, because retail prices for anything and everything are just too expensive. No, you're not supposed to steal, but there always is a breaking point in a capitalist society where prices get to such a level where the people are like, screw this. They can't stop us if we just take a bunch of this stuff. Ronnie says, I've been, quote, waiting 20 years to hear it discussed, but as it was my experience when my and my relatives' mail was targeted, I figured it must be on me to share. And so they said part of post 9/11 that was not publicly discussed was when they were opening people's mail that were Muslims. All right, I got to go. Melanie Ricks is up next. See you next time.
The 1017 The Truth Street Team, sponsored by UW Credit Union, is coming to an event near you. Join us this Wednesday